I did not fuck it.
Ah.
Do y'all believe in God?
No, dude.
How about communism?
I think communism is pretty base.
We have some problems.
I think that's what Disco Elysium's about.
I think
Maybe.
socialism is pretty base.
I just thought there were going to be
Socialism.
discos.
Oh
in
wow,
Elysium.
what's this guy doing here?
Hey, Dad.
He's back with the milk,
Mr.
guys.
Bowles. Professor Bowles.
Professor Bowles.
Have you ever considered being a plate instead?
Dr. Bowles.
You once jerked off in the locker room and were caught. You held a young woman by the arm and kept her in your apartment for 20 minutes against her will. That's right, these are not flights of fancy. These are real deeds, emerging from the darkness of your past. You tried shooting a fleeing suspect in the foot, but hit him in the pelvis, crippling him for life. And above all, you let life defeat you. All the gifts of your parents, the love and patience of your friends, you drowned in a neurotoxin. You let misery win, and it will keep winning until you die or overcome it.
Fucking what?
Ed, can you pass me my
That was
beverages
dope.
that
What
are
the
over
fuck?
Yo, so this...
Who the hell?
I didn't... Why is that so low res, huh?
there? The other
You know what? It's funny. He would like it this way. He would like
For
it this
Travis from Dance Gather's Dance?
Crunchy as hell.
He's got 4 teeth total.
way. Four-tooth man, Robert Kurvitz.
I got 4 teeth.
Now this
That's it.
naturally born Estonian man. Thing you need to know about Estonia is that it's really fucking small. It's one of those countries you just don't think about. It's like Senegal, like that or something. You don't really.
Baltic.
Yeah, it's Baltic. You don't really think about it that often. It has a population of like a little over 1 million. Like it has a population lower than the state of Maryland. That's how like small. That's how small this country is. And because
Country.
yeah, because it's such a small country, people like tend to know each other. Like you might just walk into a bar and out pops famous Estonian man, and you talk with each other. You know that kind of stuff just happens. But this guy, he decides he's going to drop out of college, drops out of high school, joins this anarchist group known as the Overcoats. Now, when I say this is an anarchist group, I mean it's like 8 to 10, like 15-year-olds that like role-playing games. So basically what they do is, oh, by the way, here's where he meets his lifelong friend, Alexander Rostov, famous, I guess he's not famous yet, but he will become a famous impressionist painter, or post-impressionist. I might, I'm not really working my art degree very well here, I'll be honest.
It's
but
impression.
I'm getting an impression from it, if you know what I mean. But they meet, yeah, but they meet together in this anarchist group, and they start playing role-playing games like all other anarchist groups do. So they're
menus at restaurants.
so they're playing.
Well,
Yeah,
Kazam.
yeah.
we do that. We also bring stuff in.
Hell
to
yeah.
sit on our discussions.
So what's interesting about these role-playing games is that they're a wholesale set in a world created by Robert Kurvitz known as Elysium. Like he's like creating like all these different continents with countries, with cities and all that, and this lore is being deeply woven into the role-playing game, and that is how he's developing this world.
Shout out to Squirtle and Dr. Pepper.
Fuck yeah. I bet he loves Dr. Pepper.
I think Squirtle's more of a Picari Sweat type of guy.
Pepper Elysium.
So yeah.
Dr. Elysium.
Eventually, this group, a bunch of people from this group, get together to create the Zaum Cultural Association, which is just like a sort of blog spot, like sort of a website to like publish like artworks and writings from people from the Overcoat. So it's sort of like an Estonian cultural society, because it's this cultural association.
That line variation could be kind of sexy though.
It is a little bit sexy. They did have a logo, for sure. And this is when Helen Hinpier, they would meet her. She joined Zaum at age 14 as a writer. What was the next? Oh yeah, 2009 rolls around. I forget how old he is. Do the math. 1984 to 2009. How many years is that?
25.
He's 25 years old, and he starts writing a book called Sacred and Terrible Air, which is going to be the first, technically not the first writing set in the world of Elysium, because someone from Zaum decided to write a story about their character from the role-playing game. That was like, it was like just a short story or whatever. This is going to be the first time something like that is like published and put on shelves or something like that. So he's writing this story, Sacred and Terrible Air, It's about like a bunch of detectives that get together to solve the mystery of this missing woman, and it's written very weird because one, it's entirely in Estonian, which is already like a very expressive language. Like it's they don't use specific words. They have like very like emotional ways of describing things, and also it's being written in a very like deliberately esoteric way. So it's a very confusing book, and he writes it, and then 2010, and he's writing it, and in 2000 he's still writing it. It comes out in 2014. All right, it takes 5 years to write this goddamn book. He puts it out there, and how well do you think it does?
No.
Oh, you think it didn't do very well? Is that because you've never heard of it? That's true. It didn't do very well. It sold 1,500 copies. No one knew how to read this at the time. No one knew what was going on. What's Elysium, anyways?
I mean, that's pretty good for just a random book, 1,500.
I don't know.
Is that a non-rhetorical question? Are you asking what Elysium is?
No, that is I mean, I'm not asking what Elysium... People didn't know what Elysium was, because it was just like a world they created in a role-playing group. So no one knew what the fuck was going on in this book. It was very confusing to read. And so Robert Kurvitz, after this, was in despair. He was like, I put this book out. It took me 5 years to write. Literally no one read it. I don't know what to do anymore. He's going to bars. He's getting like really drunk. He starts having issues with alcoholism and stuff. But one day he's at a bar, and out pops famous Estonian man. I see this is foreshadowing. This is Kaur Kender, arguably a successful author. And he's arguably successful. What? Arguably, and he's arguably successful because he wrote a book called Entitled 12, which I don't really want to get into the contents of, but it gets really bad. Child prostitutes are in it, and it gets worse from there. So this book was so bad that he was sued by the government of Estonia for claiming this was child pornography, basically. And they went to the courts, and eventually he pled. This is the exact courtroom in Tallinn that he was at during these court proceedings. And in the end, he was found not guilty, and they deemed Untitled 12 a piece of literary importance. It was a piece of art. It was art. It was art. Art wins.
Yay!
Art wins. I mean, that's not to say anything about the morality of the child prostitutes, but it's art. It's art. Anyways, so they get together, they're like met at this bar, and he's like, oh shoot, you're arguably famous author, Kaur Kender. How are you doing? And he's like, hey, yeah, man, I was one of the 1,500 people that read your book, and I think it had some issues. And he's like, damn, really? He's like, but I know how to fix it. Make it a game. You know, because you have this weird way of describing things that sort of makes the reader interact with the book, but that's not as easy to do with a book as it is with like a video game, where that's part of the intent of the creation. So why don't you make a game instead? And he's like, yeah, I'll make a game. We'll put it together, a studio, Fortress Occident. We'll call it No Truce with the Furies. Later it gets renamed to Zaum, because basically everyone at Fortress Occident was a member at that. Like Rostov and Pierre joined this. A bunch of people from Zaum joined this. Oh, and they renamed the game Disco Elysium because they thought No Truce with the Furies sounded too similar to No Truce with the Furries.
Good move. Disco Elysium sounds so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my...
Please say it.
I'm really into ancient Greek art history.
I know.
And I think that No Truce with the Furies sounds absolutely fucking baller.
It does sound a little bit baller. But you see, Disco Elysium is actually also playing on Greek phrases, because in Greek, disco means I learn. This is a game that's going to introduce you to the world of Elysium. You're going to learn today what this world is, what it contains, what it's about, what's going on, and that way, when you read a book that starts with like the disappearance of a child in a country you've never heard of, you're not instantly confused as to what the fuck is going on.
Enter Elysium.
Enter Elysium.
That's so cool.
I forgot I added that. Yeah, so basically, first things first, they need funding, because games cost money to make, right?
What a shit.
So Kaur Kender gets together people he knows who are willing to put money in this project, because not only is Fortress Occident the first like major game company in Estonia, but it's also producing what might be the first piece of media that escapes the Estonian culture and becomes like worldwide. Like, you know how like in different countries we have an idea for what their culture is kind of through like osmosis. Like you have Bollywood and you have like weird German art films.
Squid Game.
And you have anime, like that shit, right? They're like, what if this becomes our anime, right? So Marcus Linnaeus is like this capitalist investor dude. He has a company called Grupp, and he's like, yeah, I'll put some money into this game. Also, side note, this guy, Cal Kender, he had a car that was once owned by Dolph Lundgren, and he sells it to invest money into the game. So he sells the car, takes that money, puts it into the... Who knows Rocky IV? Who knows this guy?
I hate to disappoint you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know him either, so you're not really
Oh.
disappointing me.
All right.
I know that this guy is Communist Guile, though. That's as much as I know about him, so...
Hell yeah.
So this is how the shares are split right now in Zaum, the game company, not the cultural association. And that's 83% is owned by Marcus Linnaeus because he's a rich capitalist dude, 17% owned by Kaur Kender because he like really invested as much money as he could into this project. So this is
Lemonade.
this is the distribution right now, right? Then this guy comes over, Kaur Kender sells his shares to this guy Ilmar Compass, okay? Why'd you raise your hand
Why
like
does
that?
he look like that? He looks like a prisoner.
This is
Got
during
some really blue eyes going on.
This is during an interview we'll get into, but he's while this image was taken, he was under some very journalistic pressure. I think I don't know the best way to describe it. He might have done crimes, and he's trying to make it look like he didn't do crimes. We'll get to that.
So glasses and a cardigan to look.
Exactly, to look innocent, you know? So, Ilmar Compass, this guy's important because he's half of the owner of a company called Koha Capital. Ilmar Compass and Tanis Havel, see Koha, that's how the name came
Oh,
together.
yes.
Now, Tanis Havel is famous. You might, who here knows Tanis Havel? Right,
No.
this guy right here. Who's even like heard this name before? No one?
Nope.
I'm surprised because this guy is the person responsible for the Baku scandal, where he told a bunch of investors. He got a bunch of investors together and said, "Hey, let's make a shopping mall in Azerbaijan," and they were like sick.
Naming shit.
They got a bunch of money together to make a shopping
they
mall.
funneled all the money into Schleen. So
But the thing is, they never started construction in Azerbaijan. The project never started, and so he got sued for it. And eventually, he lost the lawsuit. Took 6 months prison and 12 million euro fine. This guy, I mean, literal, like written into law, financial criminal right here.
It's funny though. It's
All
really
right. Does everyone understand what happened here? Did I explain that well enough?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
he kind of looks like that one guy that's like
Damn, that's
injecting
crazy.
his son's blood into himself so he looks younger.
Yeah, so this is the twist they gave away. This guy's now the producer of Disco Elysium. Because Ilmar Compass bought shares, he was able to leverage what little power he had to get this guy a spot into the company, and so that's what we're dealing with right now. This is how the profits are split. I believe the next slide will show in 2019. Yeah, the game comes out. Woo! Disco Elysium is released 5 years later.
Finger.
It took as long to make Disco Elysium as it did to write the book. Keep that in mind.
I think that's a good thing.
And then forget about it, because I don't actually know what point to make out of that. That's just really weird, right?
If it took a little bit longer, COVID would have fucked him up.
Yeah.
For sure.
But anyways, Disco Elysium is the best game ever made. It did basically like the best a game could possibly hope to do. It like what is it? It is currently the #1 rated PC game on Metacritic. It is the first game to outrank Half-Life.
Damn.
Half-Life 2, GTA 5, The Orange Box, fucking Baldur's Gate hasn't beaten this.
Deion, are you cheering against Half-Life or for Disco Elysium?
For Disco Elysium.
I'll cheer against Half-Life. Disco Elysium. Never mind.
I think-
Cut that from the record.
I think, yeah, cut that from the record. I think that Half-Life has its place in video game society. It is the pillar
Yeah, they have
upon
their
which the brain rot. You
Yeah,
know?
they have their place, you know. So yeah, Disco Elysium comes out. Let's talk about what the fuck is Disco Elysium? Does anyone know anything about this game? Let's hear like what people know already.
It's an RPG.
It's an RPG, yes.
The folks on the internet want glasses on the left there bad.
I want glasses on the left there bad. Thank you for noticing. Alright,
Oh my god.
yeah, Disco Elysium. So let's get straight into it, alright? This is a map of the world of Elysium, okay? We are currently in the Isola of Insulinde. Now, an Isola is kind of like a country, but you know how countries are separated by bodies of water? In this world, we sort of define it as a separation between, like, landmass, matter, and this sort of weird, like, substance known as the Pale. We don't exactly... Okay, so this is a map of the world of Elysium, everybody. Now, as you can see, these are sort of splitted into continents, but they're not quite continents the way we think of continents, right? Because we think of things as like pieces of land separated by bodies of water, right? Here, you see like there's bodies of water and land, but they're all separated by this separative tissue known as the Pale, right? So these are actually isolas, and isolas are separated by the Pale. We'll explain what the Pale is later, but it's very esoteric and confusing. So, in this world, we are on the Isola of Insulinde. And in Insulinde, we are on the island of Lacayo. And on the island of Lacayo, we're in the city of Jamrock. In Jamrock, we are in a district called Revachol. And in Revachol, we're in a sub-district called Martinaise. And there is a body hanged to a tree behind a hostile cafeteria called the Whirling in Rags. Now, this isn't just any old person. This person's wearing military outfits. He has, like, ceramic armor. This guy is, like, bootstrapped to kill people. So, obviously, he did not come alone. He is with a group of people, and when they find out that this guy is dead, they're going to shoot first, ask questions later. This is going to become a major incident in Martinaise. Okay? Now, second problem, the police are kind of arguing whose job it is to fix this, right? Because Martinaise is sort of a debated territory between these two precincts, both of whom argue that the other person is responsible for this place. And because of that, policing just doesn't really happen around Martinaise because the cops are arguing about whose job it is to actually do stuff around here. Not anymore. This is too major of an incident. Both precincts are going to work together. They're going to send their best cops to Martinaise and solve what this issue is. And they send, from Precinct 41, they send Harrier Dubois, Lieutenant W. Frater, okay? Now, Lieutenant is the highest ranking person in the RCM can get before they stop doing field work. Like, after this, you become an officer and you're basically, like, just sending other people to do work, right? W. Frater? Frater is someone who has been offered a promotion and refused it. So double means that happened twice. 2 times he was offered to get off of the line of duty and like into like a comfortable office job where he can like be sort of the head of the place. And both times he refused that. So this is a man dedicated to his work. So here's some more information. He solved 216 cases over 18 years of service and only killed 3 people.
Woo!
This is about as good as it fucking gets, okay? This is the best damn cop on the force. And he gets over there, and they all head to the Whirling in Rags, and the first thing he does is tells everyone to fuck off. Like, his entire, like, everyone that got sent with him, the crime unit that got sent with him, fuck off, I don't need you, you're cramping my style, I got this one, go away, detect or die, all will burn. So he walks into this place and immediately starts buying alcohol. And immediately starts chugging it. Like as much alcohol as he could get in his mouth and then swallowing every like chance he gets. As much alcohol as is humanly possible to consume.
Like the game developer!
Like the game developer! It's like an apocalyptic level of alcohol. I need to emphasize this. Like he's going around trashing the place. He's pissing his pants everywhere. He's went to the bathroom and like pissed in the toilet. But he also broke the toilet, not like it clogged, but like the entire ceramic shell of the toilet is broken. Like it just got ripped in half or something. I don't know how he did that. Okay. He tried like flushing his ledger down there or something, and it didn't really work. So he just like threw it in the trash. Okay, he went back. He's like in the lobby in the cafeteria where everyone's hanging out, and he's like swinging his gun around and he's making jokes about how it would be really, really fucked up if he shot himself right now. Like, could you imagine? Wouldn't that be hilarious, guys? Like, he's getting so fucked up, he gets in his car, drives over to, like, this water bridge, crashes his car into the bridge, lands in, like, an archipelago of, like, into, like, the shallow end of like, the like, ledge area. Like, this is sort of a harbor town, so there's, like, water reaching, like, what is that called? Those things connect.
Shore?
A shore! I assure you I knew that word. But anyways.
I think you did.
He crashes it into a shore. His car is like wrecked. He leaves his badge in his car. He's leaving covered in seaweed, and there's a bunch of like drunk bums who are watching this, cheering him on, and he looks like the Swamp Thing to them. So he's like walking out, and he like announces to everyone, "I am Tequila Sunset, the end of all things."
That fucking slaps.
And then he goes back. He sells his gun to get more money to buy more alcohol. And he keeps buying alcohol. This goes on for 3 days, where he's just drinking as much alcohol as he can within those 3 days. The third day, everyone's just done with him. It's like, go upstairs, go to your room. We don't want to hear from you anymore. And he's a sad little boy. He goes upstairs. He plays like the saddest disco song he knows, the smallest church in St. Sands, and he's like yelling the lyrics and like holding back tears. And then like he's like everyone can hear him from the other room. And then he's like throwing off his shoes. He's throwing his shoes out the window. He's wrecked his whole room, by the way. His bed is basically just like a half-lane mattress over like broken wood. And so he's like throwing, like he decides to just start taking off all his clothes. He's throwing his clothes everywhere. And he starts like, he takes off his necktie and he ties it on like the ceiling fan. And he's like, he takes off his pants and he decides to do erotic asphyxiation.
You know, maybe it's good this guy wasn't promoted.
Actual crackhead behavior.
So, this is the moment where Harry Dubois dies. Oh. What?
Damn.
No, I lost the thing! There was supposed to be like a black slide between these two. He would have died, but like this is where the game starts, and you see like after death there is nothing, there is only oblivion, and like your like ancient reptilian brain is talking to you and is like, yeah, this is it. This is all that's left for you now. You don't want to go back, though. Trust me, you don't want to go back. And he's like, I think I want to go back. He's like, no, okay, I warned you, buddy. And then he wakes up like this.
Yikes.
Sick open.
So he wakes up. By the way, no memory of anything. He doesn't know what his name is. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know what money is. No idea of anything right now. Also, his necktie is talking to him, and he can't remember if that's normal or not.
A really bad necktie.
I like it.
It's stylistic.
It is called a horrific necktie. So I mean, yeah. But I mean, it's like bad in like a fun way. It's a fun necktie, and it talks to. It's like your friend.
I'm not gonna make friends with that necktie.
Or if your friends hate you.
My necktie doesn't. Anyways, he walks downstairs. There's like this person smoking on the balcony, and he's like, yeah, or like there's this woman smoking on the balcony, and that's how he first learns he's a police officer, because he asks her like, hey, do you know who I am? And he's like, yeah, you're a police officer. Were you okay last night? That was some crazy shit I was hearing. And then like there's like a check to like there's a suggestion check to see if like you're gonna woo this woman, you can like flirt with her. And like everyone fails this the first time they play through it, and he just says, can I have fuck with you? And she's like, can you say that again? You're like, no, I don't think I said anything. No. Say that again. It's like, can I have fuck with you? Get out of here, you fucking idiot! Get out! And he goes downstairs, and that's where he meets the other person that was sent here, Lieutenant Kim Kitsuragi of Precinct 57. My boy, my guy. Look at him.
Ooh.
Are we all looking at him?
I'm looking directly at him.
Pokemon
Okay, anyways,
on his chest.
Fucked up.
so, gameplay mechanics, right? This game has no combat. everything's handled through dialogue, and kill yourself.
Hey, you can't say that.
Ed also didn't like Amori chat.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's different.
Loser.
Loser.
So instead of like just fighting people with stats like strength and charisma, those stats are used to help when you're like in a dialogue with someone, and like if you think they're lying, your drama might come up and they're like, doth person be a liar, me lord, and they'll like have their own voice, and the more points you put into the stat, the more likely they are to show up in dialogue. And so there are like 30 of these things, and I remember.
What?
So I decided to choose a stat for each person here. Yeah, so first of all, Tyler, you're electrochemistry right
Damn
here.
it.
Do you know what that fucking means?
Yes, I know what that fucking
Could you
means.
please tell the camera what that means?
It means you do too many drugs.
Yeah, Tyler! I don't want to hear any more about psychedelics from you. Psychedelics are for pussies. Now, Deion, I decided to give you encyclopedia.
Wow.
Encyclopedia is the voice that pops up and gives you random fun facts about what's been mentioned. Like someone will be talking about how they were using a contact mic to do some science, and they'll go, oh, contact mic is also the name of a boxer. I still don't know what your name is, but I'm working on it. Okay, bye, you're welcome. Jackson, your composure. Because you can make a lot of funny faces. Composure is like not just your ability to sit upright and do that stuff. It's sort of like your ability to understand how other people are sitting, how they carry themselves affects them. And so I think like you have that sort of thing. You know what people are up to. You know.
Okay.
See, listen to how composed he is. Ed, finally for you, I've given you suggestion. You know why?
No.
Because you keep fucking gaslighting me every time we talk. I'm like talking with you, and you're like, oh yeah, the new DuckTales reboot just added like the guy from Mystery Science Theater. I'm like, no, they fucking didn't.
Bro had me believe that Sonic and Shadow were canonically gay.
They were. What?
I'm pretty sure they were.
No,
They
like in
re-
a couple relationship.
They
with
literally
each other.
released a game called Sonic X Shadow. What do you
I
want?
don't know what to tell you. That's literally it.
Okay. Other game mechanic here is the thought cabinet. Now, sometimes you might be
Homosexual underground.
Homosexual underground.
homosexual underground.
She looks like Plague Inc.
So, whenever you're talking with someone and they give you an interesting thought, that thought goes right over here for later, and you can like put it on the thought cabinet to sort of like delve deeper and like really like get to the heart of the matter of like rigorous self-critique, or cop of the apocalypse, or inexplicable feminist agenda. You know, this kind of stuff. And it, basically there's sort of like traits where if you dedicate enough time to being a hardcore atheist, you like start to become more like that, and they add like different gameplay bonuses and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
A hardcore
That
what?
word says aesthetic.
I was like, Roland, come on, man.
I've never gotten that one in the game, okay? I've never seen. There are like 100 of these. I haven't seen all of them.
Aesthetic.
100?
Hardcore
Extremely committed to whatever bit he has going on.
I really fuck with this thought cabinet mechanic.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
So-
is cool.
I
So-
mean, yeah, that's what I've got going on upstairs, basically.
So let's use Homosexual Underground as an example, because I know we're all interested in knowing what this is about,
I'm
right?
extremely interested.
So later in the game, you meet this guy who's like smoking on a balcony. He's called the Smoker on the Balcony. You might exactly. And he looks kind of like he might know something, so you decide to like interview him, and you can talk with him a little bit, and you get this hint to him that he sort of carries himself in a way, you know, Deion, you know. Exactly. And so you decide just straight up and ask it, hey sir, are you one of those homosexuals I've been hearing about?
Queer.
Are you one of them queers? And he's like, as a matter of fact, officer, I am. And me and my other homosexual friends are going to get together later today to figure out how we're going to destroy the sanctity of marriage.
Hell
It's like,
yeah!
hell yeah, brother! And so all of a sudden he's thinking, wait, that's based as fuck. Maybe I'm gay, right? And so Homosexual Underground is the thought that you might be gay. And so you have to really delve deep into, okay, am I gay? I have to consider all the options here.
Are you?
What the fuck?
Are
The
you?
conclusion is that no, you're not. Disappointing, right? But the thing is, if you complete this thought, you can talk to Kim and ask him if he's gay. And he says yes!
Let's fucking go! We win. We win.
My guy, my guy, my guy, my
All the
guy.
siren likers everywhere rejoice! Oh my god!
Woo, woo, Ed, what are your thoughts on this implication?
I'm playing. I mean, yeah, Kim. I've seen people. They talk about Kim.
Yeah?
He's gay.
He's gay.
He's
I'm
gay.
not. Listen.
It's gonna be like the good cop to the drunken bad cop, right?
It's gonna be like the normal everyday cop that's just trying to do his job versus the drunken cop who keeps calling himself Raphael Ambrosius Cousteau because he can't remember his actual fucking name.
Raphael.
The Odd Couple.
Yeah, the odd couple, except they're... Well, there's some
You ever been
homosexual
divorced
picture.
without being married before? It's like that.
Yeah. Okay. So, that's the game, right? That's how the game works. So let's talk about what the fuck is going on in this world, right? I'm getting winded. I screamed too much about gay Kim Kitsuragi. This is...
At least you were enthusiastic. Everyone knows that
Exactly.
you got a mission going on.
Tyler, before you leave, how much time are we at?
15.
Okay. Cut? Let me cut that, actually.
I was about to say.
Cut, please.
Elysium.
Recording.
Yeah.
Okay, this time I promise I won't lose all my energy talking about one character being gay, alright?
He's gonna lose.
All right.
He's finished.
Roland is the reason that the camera battery deteriorated so fast.
Yeah, it's because I screamed so loud.
Gay!
He was sapping energy.
Sexual! Okay.
Bad camera.
The camera's homophobic.
Yeah. So,
During June?
if you remember when we saw the Whirly and Rags last, that's what it looks like. And this is right outside of it. There's all these trucks lined up. What the fuck is going on there?
They're playing beautiful music at this point.
Yeah, they're playing a song called Instruments of Surrender, and that has lore implications. So, all of these trucks are lined up because they're right in front of the harbor or the dock where they're supposed to drop off goods to be delivered. But unfortunately, the dock workers are on strike. These people are known as the Debardeurs or the Dock Workers Union, and they're protesting against the people who own the dock, known as the Wild Pines Group. Now, there's some lore about the Wild Pines Group. Basically, what's the full story? Back in when monarchy was a thing, right? The king decided one day that the Wild Pines Group would just be a monopoly. Today, you get to be the distribution company. That's your thing now, and no one else can do it. This is known as an Indo tribe in the game. You get the idea, right? So, there are a bunch of other Indo tribes like this who are just in charge of entire parts of the economy. There's one Indo tribe that would be responsible for food production or whatever. And so eventually the monarchy fell and these Indo tribes no longer had the power they once did, and because of that most of them start dying out. In fact, all of them die out except for the Wild Pines Group, who is still, they make up for 18% of all the world's commerce or distribution. They make a bunch of money. They some years they boast that they made $1 billion or something, and then the next year they lose $1 billion, and they just keep quiet about that, hush hush. So, dock workers are protesting against the Wild Pines Group, but this is not the first time this has happened, right? In fact, it's the third time. First time this happened, they wanted healthcare benefits. Second time this happened, they wanted paid time off. Now, what they're asking for is a spot on the board so that when decisions are made, they have a voice in what's done, right? Because they're the people that do all the work. We should have a say in what happens. The Wild Pines Group doesn't even consider this a possibility. We will not even think about doing that. And this started a whole fight between the two. The Wild Pines Group sends this negotiator called Mr. Gaumont, and he talks with this guy, Everard Clare.
What the fuck?
Everard Clare Not to be confused with his twin brother Edgar Clare, who is also sometimes the leader of the Debardeurs, basically looks at this guy who's short-statured and tells him to fuck off and calls him a midget. So, Mr. Gaumont leaves, he gets like threatened out eventually, and so they send in another negotiator, Joyce Messier, and to make sure that Joyce doesn't get muscled out like Mr. Gaumont does, they send Joyce with military military detail, or security detail, which is military, because that's the military group that the Hangman was a part of.
Whoa.
So it's believed that someone from the Debardeurs hangs that man. And that might be bad for the people who are like protesting, but of course also because of the protests, everyone is lined up waiting for their turn to like drop off like commerce or whatever, and because they're waiting for like weeks on end, they're basically living in their trucks. Life sucks for them. They're living off of the stuff they have in their trucks. Some of them are just selling it off to random people. Kids are just stealing from the trucks. It's not a good situation. By the way, the military that they sent is also right now. They are also scabs. They're military and scabs. So this guy is like the leader of Cornell, and he's also standing outside of the harbor yelling about right to work and all that. And the harbor is being locked off by this guy called Measurehead. We'll get to him later, don't you worry. But yeah, that's the situation right now. Do we understand all of what's going on? Do we have any questions?
Yes.
Yeah. That's yes, we understand. Okay. Good enough. Okay. Let's get to talking about some specific characters. This is Kuno de Ruyter, also known as Kuno. He's like an Irish kid with a foul mouth. He swears a lot and talks in third person for some reason. He like the backyard of the Whirling in Rags where the guy was hanged is Kuno's domain. And Kuno doesn't fuck around with other people in Kuno's domain. So if you're going to start walking into his domain and start investigating his fuck gimp, then you better have some damn rights. You better be ready to step the fuck up to Kuno and the Kuno-S who's also there cheering him on.
Yeah.
So Kuno, like, first of all, his dad's a fucking bum. Like, obviously he did not have a good upbringing, and his dad is selling drugs. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, the reason that, like, the Debardeurs, like, because they're not working, they need some way to make money, he's been doing, like, a drug ring in Martinaise, and selling drugs to kids. He's been doing the what's that group? The mob from Golden Wind. Not Passion, but, like, the whole...
La Squadra.
La Squadra, the entire mafia of the mafia.
Passion.
No, Passion is the name of Bruno's group.
No, Passion's the whole thing.
The Passion gang is all of them.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I'm right, but
Is it
whatever.
Passion or Passiona?
It depends on how annoying it is.
Alright, well I love being annoying, so it's Passiona.
Whatever. His dad's job is he sells drugs to kids. He's also on drugs. He's on like speed when you're talking to him. He says psychedelics are for fucking pussies. He likes drinking alcohol. Yuck. What else? Like he goes around like graffitiing stuff. He hates cops, but also wants to be one. And one day he finds this girl, Kuno-S, like cowering in a janitor's closet in his apartment complex, and decides to just let her in one day. Like, you know, this person's obviously not doing very well. Like, lets her in his house. His dad is so drunk that they think they're the same person. So they're both living together without their dad even knowing that she's around. And they, like, every now and then they'll go out and wreck town together. They have a plan of, like, escaping Martinaise through, like, the tunnels under the town, the catacombs, and they're gonna, like, find somewhere. They're probably gonna live there, I think, actually. They're not gonna... Yeah, they're gonna live in the catacombs. That's their plan.
Honestly?
So French.
Oh, yeah, also, Kuno-S might be a murderer. It turns out, like, you can do, like a... I forgot what kind of check. Like you can do a check on Kuno-S, and like it will tell you like the reason like she was shivering in a janitor's closet is because that's part of the experts call it murder hangover, when you have your first kill and you're sort of like shaken by it, so you like have to take a moment to process what happened. Hers was so severe that they believe it was a child she killed. She also might have killed the cop, which is cool. Anyways, Elizabeth Buford. This person is just hanging out at the front of the Whirling in Rags, and you can talk to her, and she doesn't really know that much about what's going on. But you can do like a visual calculus check to figure out like what's going on. Why is she here right now? And if you fail that check, you become racist.
What?
Yeah, like you look at her and you're like, well, she certainly is a different skin tone than me, and you comment on it. If you succeed in the check, you'll notice that she's sitting in the exact right location to keep an eye on you no matter where you are in Martinaise. So she's keeping an eye on you for some reason. Be warned. Something's going on with Elizabeth Buford. Going on, plaisance. This person is running a bookstore in Martinaise called Crimes, Romances, and Biographies of Famous People. I think she should shorten that title. But that's just me.
Can we read the books?
You can read the books. You can read some of the books. There's one book that has like a pretty lady on the cover and you get a boner. This happens in the game. Like you sit there and you're like you have to pass checks to like calm down, like, okay, stop having an erection right now. And it's like, nope, you're having one. But it's like fucking weird. But yeah, Plaisance is running this bookstore. Annette is Plaisance, or like Annette is the daughter of Plaisance, and she's like doing the whole like Victorian child outside a store selling matchsticks. So you meet her and she's like, oh, you're a cop, aren't you? You love these Dick Mullen novels. And like Dick Mullen is a cop that definitely wouldn't lose their badge, you know? So there's commentary about that. But you go in and it's like, hey, this is child labor actually. You should probably stop this. And she's like, no, it's fine. I'm teaching her like expert skills in running business. And
Rich
like,
Dad approves.
Rich Dad. Yeah, she read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. She is Kiyosaki pilled fully. And you're like, nah, I don't think you should have your child working. I think that's bad. Eventually you can persuade her that this is wrong, and she's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. You know, my mom always called me like a dull child or whatever. And you can do a check on, like an empathy check on her, and it turns out she treats Annette the same way her husband and mother treated her. So it's sort of a hurt people situation. But more importantly, the bookstore is failing, which is why she was going for these desperate measures of like having Annette work outside and stuff like that. Because it turns out she doesn't really care about books. She doesn't read books. She thinks books are like dumb. Like she thinks, why would you read fiction? You can't glean anything real from it. So the only reason she got a bookstore is because it's part of her like Kiyosaki plan to like get into that like S quadrant self-employed spot, and eventually maybe she can become an I quadrant investor and really make her money, you know? Also, her electric bill is like way out of proportions for some reason. She can't figure it out, and she suspects it's because she's a part of the doomed commercial area. This is an area of Martinaise where companies like mysteriously go out of business. Nobody knows why. And so like there was a gym that had a business here and closed down, and there was a dice maker, and there was like a company making games called Fortress Accident, and they went out of business because their games got so big and they kept running out of money, and they just never released the game because they kept having more
like video games,
like RPGs, like tabletop RPGs. But you see Fortress Accident because the original name of the company was Fortress Occident. Let's see what they did there. There's a window company that's actually a front for a snuff radio. And there's an ice cream company with like a giant bear fridge. And oh yeah, that's why the electricity is running through the roof, is because that bear fridge is still plugged in. That's about it for the Doom commercial area, I think. Oh, the dice maker is actually still running in the Doom commercial area. She's just like working commissions in like this broken down like part of this complex, and like no one's noticed her there for all this time. So that's funny. All right, I think now is the time. No, okay, we gotta talk about the pail driver. So the pail driver is like one of the truck drivers, one of the people on the lorries that you can talk to. But she's like really dazed for some reason. When you try to approach her, she like doesn't even notice you're there. She's like staring into space. And like once she starts talking about other people's memories, like experiencing other lives that other people have gone through. And this is because the pail driver is someone who drives through the pail.
Who would have thunk?
Who would have thunk?
Mazel tov.
So, I am not prepared for all this talking I'm about to do.
Start yapping.
I gotta start fucking yapping,
He's
bro.
gonna start
Okay.
yapping, guys.
So back when monarchies existed, right?
Uh-huh.
It was believed that, like, I forgot, in Grodd or something, or Monday. No, people lived in Grodd, and they believed that the Isola of Grodd, and they believed that that was the end of the world. Like once you reached the pale, that was the edge of the world. Because once you tried to go through the pale, it would just be endless nothingness, and no one would ever make it back out of the pale. So this was like considered the edge of the world, right? Except one time, the monarchy decided to send 8 crews. Thank you. 8 crews to go through the pale and see if they can make it out. 5 of them never return. 2 of them come back, but are so like mentally damaged that they can't even form a coherent sentence. Like they can't describe what the experience was. And 1 crew made it to the end of the pale and found another continent on the other side, known as East Insulinde, or the freckled face of God. And that's the continent that we're on right now. So the pale is this sort of structure that separates the world, as we established earlier, but for some reason when you try to travel through it, you start to go insane. It's hard to describe why or what causes it, because the pale doesn't have any properties to it. You can't smell it, you can't see it, you can't touch it. It doesn't have, its only real property is a suspension of properties, right? Does this make sense to fucking anyone yet?
You can't see it? It's not
You
like a fog or something?
It's not a fog or anything. You just start going through it. The only reason we know of like where it starts and where it ends is because we can measure like where matter is and where matter isn't.
There's not
also-
just the void of space, it's a fully, like, the void of concept itself.
It's kind of like that, yeah. Except you can survive in it. It's not like you like enter a vacuum and implode or anything. It's not like there's no oxygen in there. But it doesn't have anything inside of it.
Yeah, it's not like it's a vacuum, because it's not like it's space to be filled. It's just not space.
Yeah, it's just nothing. There is a species of moss. Question.
Sorry, need to link this to theater somehow.
Yeah.
Have you ever read the play Eurydice?
No, and encyclopedia, by the way. Go on.
Okay, so in the play Eurydice, there is the concept of the underworld after you die, and in order to get there, you have to ride in a train that is not a train. So, a train has wheels. This has
Yeah.
not wheels.
Right.
What's not wheels? It's like wheels, but it's not.
Exactly. I understand perfectly.
It has a boiler. No, it doesn't. It has a not boiler. What's a
Right.
not boiler? It's like a boiler, but not.
It takes a while, so you have to sit in the not chair, right?
Yeah, you have to sit down in a not chair. You don't sit down in a not chair.
Oh, sorry, my mistake.
You
Okay.
don't sit down in a not chair.
Okay.
There is not a cabin,
Right.
so you don't sit in the cabin either. You don't stand in the cabin. It chugs. It actually doesn't chug. It does the opposite of a chug.
Do they hand out like not tuna sandwiches? Or,
They give you
They
a
have not
ticket,
peanuts.
but it's
Not
like not a ticket.
Yeah.
You know? That's the train. That's actually not a train.
Yeah.
And it's described as the absence of a train.
You
The
know what?
complete opposite of train.
You said this
like
play was
like a train-shaped hole in reality, right?
Train-shaped hole.
Yeah.
You said this was Eurydice?
Eurydice.
I'm going to incorporate this into my analysis later. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
A+.
another Greek-inspired. That's the connection I'm making.
Exactly. Okay. So, fuck, what were... Oh, yeah. There is a species of moss that has learned to grow, like, on the edge of the pale, so we can, like, see the edge where it starts now in some areas. And when this happens, when there's a species of moss growing over it, we call it a porch collapse. This isn't, like, a thing we're gonna use later on. We're not gonna talk about porch collapses. Just, like, fun fact, you know? Yeah. We have new camera technology that has allowed us to take photos of the pale that can depict what it looks like, and the camera photos come out as a dark gray corona, like some sort of dome around it, like gray. What else? We later developed like aerostatic vehicles. You know, there's aerodynamics and then there's aerostatics that are designed to go through the pale.
Things that aren't moving.
Things that aren't moving, exactly.
Because it's not there.
Because it's not there, exactly. So we've developed this technology, aerostatics, to go through the pale. But the thing is, if you're in the pale, you're still affected by it, regardless of what container or not container you're in. So if you're going through the pale, you are still going to have a bunch of psychological damage being done to you. It has been related to several like neurological disorders or mental disorders, excuse me. So bad stuff happens. Normal people are only cleared for 6 days in the pale. Experts who train their whole lives to travel through it get 22 days out of the year. This woman's job is to travel through the pale. She's in it every day. So she is severely damaged by it. She's cooked, Your Honor. Last thing before we move on, there's also this piece of technology called a latitude pale compressor or something like that, which is just like this giant like speaker that blasts sound and allows you to like travel through the pale, or navigate through it, I guess. And it's not really well explained how that works. It just does, right? Question.
Here's my idea, right?
Okay.
Have you ever pulled on a rubber band that's been suspended between 2 points?
Or like on a third point, hold it like there? Or?
So, point, rubber band stretched over it.
Right, okay.
Space between the 2 rubber bands,
Yeah?
empty.
Yeah.
Nothing's there.
Mm-hmm.
You pull back on the first side of the rubber band, it twangs
Right.
with a vibration.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
The vibration makes waves and the rubber band bumps into it and crosses that distance.
That could be how it works.
Hope this helps.
Hope this helps! But yeah, basically, they have these technologies, they're put on aerostatic vehicles to help them navigate. They also have basically lighthouses, which have these latitude compressors on them that blast sound. Thing is, sometimes something weird happens and the sound starts broadcasting like radio waves from 50 years ago or something like that. And then sometimes, very rarely, it will broadcast sound waves from the future, so that's really weird. And there are many theories on what the pale is or why this happens. 2 main ones. Logical positivists believe that this is just like non-space. Basically going in it, the reason you go insane is because it's like sensory deprivation. Just you have those effects on you, and so it like has damage to you. And when people say they hear noises or sounds, it's just because they've gone insane. And then there are dialectical materialists that believe because it's a suspension of properties, it might also be a suspension of history, of time, of other metaphysical ideas. So that might be what's going on.
Here's my whole thing. I think because it's not there, right?
Right.
If anything happens there, when it's not there,
Does it happen?
it doesn't go anywhere. Because it's not there, right? So it's
Yeah.
not going anywhere. So if you happen to be not there, you would eventually bump into something that's also not there
Right.
and not moving. Like an echo.
Hope this helps.
Hope this helps.
That made me more confused. I'm just gonna ignore it.
Okay.
This is really complicated because
I've had the idea of... I'm imagining the pail as like Jello, right?
Right, okay.
Imagine it like a gelatin mold around something, like agar or something.
Yeah.
So throwing a javelin into a piece of Jello, it kind of goes in and then gets stuck there, right? And then it doesn't move. And if you wanted to, you could just reach in there and bump into it all you want, because it's just there, not moving.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't really get to see much of the Pale in action, because, I mean, first of all, you can't see the Pale, and also we never go to a place that's close enough to the Pale to witness these properties in action. So all of this is possible.
No,
we only get to...
maybe in the DLC.
We'll talk about the DLC. There was going to be DLC for this game, by the way. Oh, fuck, Measurehead. God damn it. Right into it, everybody! Yeah, Measurehead!
Alright.
Okay, so...
More intellectual shit.
Measurehead is the guy, I mentioned this before, Measurehead is the guy that's guarding the dock so people can't drop their stuff off in it and the scabs can't like get in and do work. You can approach, because you're a cop, so you need to go in there for like studying and stuff, but he won't let you in, and the moment you try to talk to him, he calls you a ham sandwich, which is a slur. He talks about how you're part of the haplogroup 4B because he has like a French accent, so he says the French letters like haplogroup 4B, and he talks about how you're like a degenerate race that invented like missiles and like electricity and all this other like you invented interpale travel, and that's a problem because that's introduced internationalism, and I don't like that because can you figure out what kind of ideology this person has? Can you figure out what he thinks of other people of separate races from him? Do you think this person is the advanced racist? He literally has what he calls an advanced race theory. I forgot the exact term he uses to describe himself, like an anthropogenic race scientist. And also he has like a girl here like talking him up, like whenever he says stuff, he's like, yeah, you go, Measurehead, what that mouth do? And he's in the portrait behind her. He is the only person that is in someone else's portrait in this game. It is weird.
I wonder how prevalent, like, race theory is in Estonia.
I wouldn't know. It seems like I mean, just from like external knowledge of Estonia, it seems like a very liberal place. But I bet if you lived there long enough, you would know a lot of racism. Like, I bet it's one of those places where like you hear a lot of good stuff about it, and then you go over there, and then someone goes, "Hey, welcome to Estonia." Like you don't live there. Like it's one of those places.
So it's a place with a really small population, like
Right.
less than the state of Maryland.
Yeah.
So when you have less people that you know within your immediate vicinity, like a smaller pool of people, you notice the slighter variations more.
That makes sense, yeah. So I think that's all you need to talk about with Measurehead. I don't know. Oh, you can punch him. You can just beat the shit out of him.
Yeah!
That's one of the ways you can get into the harbor. The other one is you can become a racist, so it's up to you, my friends. The choices truly are yours.
The world is your oyster.
I believe, what is it? What the frick was it called? Like internalized Measurehead's race theory, and it becomes a thought. You can like put that thought on your thought cabinet and like study it.
Was that the fucking jump
Jackson,
scare?
you reacted to it.
Burped.
Cool. Alright, finally.
Hell yeah!
We need to talk about Kim Kitsuragi.
Kim Kitsuragi.
All we know about this guy is he's a gay cop, okay? So we need to get a little bit more going. Why I love this guy so much. So he was born in the year 02. I didn't mention this, but the years are like abbreviated to like the last two digits, no matter what.
Oh, so like reverse 19XX sort of thing?
Yeah, reverse 19XX. So he was born in 02, and like 2 years after he was born, there was this thing called the Anticentennial Revolution, and his parents died in it. He was adopted by some other people, and he grew up in Revachol, but because he looks vaguely ethnic, everyone thought he was from somewhere else and would either like do like that subtle racism where you're like, oh hey, welcome to Revachol, even though he's fucking born here, or they do the explicit just calling him slurs, right? Also, he has glasses, and people made fun of him for that, so that's a double thing. And because of that, he really hates people who pick on other people smaller than them. Like, he really hates, like, the bullying dynamic, and that's, like, one of his pet peeves. He decides he wants to join the Air Force, but unfortunately the Air Force closed down because of the revolution that killed his parents. So instead, he decides to go into the RCM, the Revachol Citizens Militia, which is the cops in this world. And that's where he becomes a police officer, specifically one of the juvenile he works with kids, basically, child crimes. And so he witnesses a lot of child murder in his job, and that sort of made him very wary about, like, children around him. He's eventually, like, grown, what is it called? He's now, like, really nervous around teenagers because of this. But eventually he moves on from juvenile to homicide, where he's been for the last 10 or so years. He had a partner called Greg. I think it was Greg. I can't remember his name, but people called him Eyes because Kim was nearsighted, or farsighted. Kim was farsighted, so Eyes would have to show him stuff, and that's where he got his name from. And then one day, Eyes, like, steps in front of a bullet and takes the bullet for Kim and dies. And ever since then, Kim has vowed that he will not die in someone else's place. Or he will not let someone else die in his place. Minus the other way around, excuse me. Don't look at me like that, Tyler.
Covering.
Okay, everyone. I think I'm done establishing the world here. We can get to, like, the game.
I like this world.
It's a cool world.
I would play the fuck out of this role-playing game.
Yo, come to Revachol. We have racism. Whatever the fuck this is. People insane from whatever the fuck this is. The doomed commercial area. So, pretty fun place. But anyways, our first case, as you may recall, we lost our gun and our badge while we were, like, getting drunk and fucked up. So, this is something we need to be a cop. Like, literally, we call, like, our precinct. They're like, hey, I lost my badge. And they're like, you lost your badge? Like, they start freaking out. Like, are you stupid? Are you dumb? Are you serious? So we need to get our badge back. We need to get our gun back. Our ledger is less important, but still probably a good thing to have, like, the stuff we need to do paperwork on it. Are you doing the thing? Yeah, he's doing the thing.
He's doing the thing.
He's doing the thing.
Ed's on camera, everyone's watching him.
So first things first. First things first, our badge, if you recall, can anyone, like, let's see who's been paying attention. Can anyone remember where our badge is? I mentioned this already.
The badge is in our car.
The badge is in our car, that's correct! +2!
Wait, golden star for Deion.
Yeah. When we crashed our car, we left our badge in there. So we just go back to where we crashed our car and get our badge back. And also realize that we just lost, like, millions of dollars for the RCM by crashing our car into the river.
Millions?
Oh, more $1 billion. So next up, ledger. The ledger is important because it's how we do our paperwork. Remember, we threw this away, so we just go searching in the trash for it. We pick it up, and we start looking through all our previous cases we had. There's, like, the case of the square bullet holes, where someone, like, suddenly died and they have a square-shaped hole in their head. And that case never got solved, but maybe one day we'll find the guy with the square gun, okay? Most important case on this, however, is the unsolvable case. So, there is these two guys, right? Leslie and Burke. Each night, Leslie and Burke get drunk, and Burke goes around destroying property, and Leslie starts flashing people, alright? And this happens every night. Jackson, you seem really excited for a second.
Nope, he's back to composure.
So, every night, Burke is destroying things, Leslie is flashing people, and this case has been given to multiple people. Multiple cops have been given this case, and they haven't been able to put a stop to it because none of these are incarcerable offenses. So you can only, like,
What?
find them, or, like, you can't put them in jail, right? That's not allowed. So you can only find them or, like, detain them for, like, a day or something like that. You can't, like, punish them any more severely than that. So each night they just get a ticket, throw it in the garbage, and do it again the next night. And this keeps happening. And eventually other cops start getting sneaky. They start hiring hitmen to kill these people, and that doesn't fucking work. Eventually Harry gets this case, and he shows up on the scene drunk too. And Burke is, like, over there thinking his ledger is one of those things he's supposed to destroy because he likes doing that all the time, and picks up the ledger and starts trying to break it. Harry decides to respond by picking up the ledger and smashing it in his face, then beats him on the floor, eventually breaking his kneecaps. He is now not able to walk. Leslie has to look after him in an apartment building for the rest of their lives.
Aww.
But that means they can't go out destroying things and flashing people anymore. So he solved the case.
He did it!
Woo! Also, the ledger that got when Burke tried to break the ledger, he accidentally jammed one of the compartments. So now that you know this, you can unjam that compartment, and then there's a letter. And when you look at this letter, Volition tells you to throw it away immediately. Do not look at it.
What does it say?
So you open it, right? And in it is actually a love letter from this person named Dora. Dora talks about like how like she would wake up in the morning and see you by her side, and she'd have to leave and go to work. And as she walked away further from you, she felt this weight weighing her down, and she got further and further away from you until she got on the train that night, where it was unbearable. And then the next night, when she would come back, she would walk back to the train stop and come by. And as she got closer and closer, the light would go away, and she would feel lighter and lighter until she was basically sprinting back home to meet you. Kisses, kisses, kisses.
Man, fuck.
Damn. So, Harry is one of those divorced guys you might have heard of.
They're really funny, those guys. They're great.
You know, if I had a nickel for every time a divorced guy showed up in these lectures, I think I'd have a lot of nickels, actually. And haven't you had a divorced guy in one of your lectures?
Did I?
I know I had Malice there.
I mean, I had like Diavolo, and does that count?
No!
You had... Didn't you have
Jotaro?
That's true.
He's a divorced guy.
So yeah, a long time ago, love story happened. Harry Dubois and Dora meet at like a bus stop, and they start like talking to each other. Harry's wearing this cool like leather jacket, and he's smoking a cigarette, and the two start hitting it off, and eventually they start a relationship with each other. And then they move in with each other in like this really small house, but neither of them are making much money, so like sometimes they just wouldn't pay the electric bill and they wouldn't have any electricity, but it didn't matter because they loved each other, right?
Right.
Then one day Harry decides he wants to become a cop, and he starts joining the police academy to start training. But that means he's not working anymore, making money for them, which means there's less money going around, which means things are even more desperate. The only reason they have enough money to survive is because Dora's parents are giving them money. So, one day it's told that somehow, like you know, Harry and Dora have it together, and then Dora gets pregnant, and it's not explained how or why, but Dora later gets an abortion, and this really upset Harry, and Harry would grow colder and bitter, and eventually Dora would like distance herself from him, and one day she just left and moved to Grod, where she got like a job as a teacher in an art school.
So she went
Good
to the
for her.
pale and everything.
Yeah, right?
Good for her.
Good for her. She went through the pale, but it's okay because it was only for a day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, good for her.
Good for her. Not good for Harry. He's fucking miserable because of this.
Fuck Harry.
Skill issue, I know.
Skill issue.
But after this happened, he sort of like had a phase where he was like really coping hard, and so he would dress up like this. He would get like this really horrific necktie and stuff. He would dress up like his hero Guillaume de Million, which was like a disco musician that he really liked, and he would get really into disco for some reason and start like having dance parties where he'd suddenly stop in the middle of it and start crying all of a sudden. Cool guy, right?
Awesome.
Cool. So that's the story of Dora, and that's also maybe why Harry's like that. But this also happened a while ago, so it's probably not the cause of him suddenly drinking himself to death, but who knows? It could be just like sudden, like, what is it called? It could be just a sudden moment of lucidity that led to that. Who knows? But you know what else? What we need to... Who cares about these questions? We need to find our gun.
Yo!
Our gun!
Our gun.
Our gun!
Who the fuck texting my goddamn phone?
How much time are we at, by the way?
8 minutes.
Ah!
When did he get that?
He just picked it up.
Fun fact, this gun has a model name. It's the Viers 9 Pepper Box.
Hey!
Yeah?
Percival, something Derolo from Critical Role. He's got a pepper box.
Pepper Box.
You reload a pepper box by removing the barrel from the handle of the gun and pulling out a little thing on your hip, which you click into it. That has the
Oh, so
bullet.
this isn't like a barrel, it's like a whole clip.
It's, well...
But like it works like a clip. You pull it out, you put in a new one, right?
So... Crack it open.
Right.
You pull out a third separate item with the bullets in it.
Okay.
Click.
Click.
Put them all in there with a little plunger thing.
Right.
Snap it shut. Gun.
The
The
there's a
third
thing.
thing that it just gets discarded.
Okay, so the third thing had the bullets in it. You put it's like a mechanism to help the bullets get in.
It's just like a little plunger you use to put in all the bullets at once.
All right.
So you don't have to go 1, 2, 3. You can just go click.
Okay. So trivia question, Ed. Do you know where our gun is?
He
Because I
sold
forgot.
it.
He sold it. That's correct.
Wait, what the fuck?
Gold star!
He's so smart. I'm so proud of him.
He said it's like a podcast.
Exactly. That's for paying attention.
Listen, Roland, what you need to understand is that we are the proto audience for this YouTube video.
I know.
This is what other people. I'm the
Exactly.
commenter. That's the guy that sits and draws and listens to your video on the side.
Exactly.
And this is just some dude.
Shout out to someone who's drawing like the craziest art right now on their like.
Yeah, if
tab.
You
You're
should
drawing
link it.
to
Link
this,
if you're drawing
link it.
something
Let
while watching
us
this.
see.
Link it in the comments.
We
No matter
wanna
what
see.
it is.
No matter what it is.
No matter what it is.
No matter
We're gonna get
what
one
it
rule
is.
for
No matter what it is.
No matter what it is.
No matter what
No matter
it is.
what it is.
All
We're
right.
looking at you right now, artist. Let us see. Wow, that's great. Alright, let's keep going.
So we go to the pawn shop, right? Because we got a thing there. Our gun's supposed to be there. That's where we last saw it. Or I mean, we don't remember that, but you know. We go over to the pawn shop, and the lights are like weirdly dim for some reason, and they're like different colors. That's odd. And the guy who's running the pawn shop is like sitting there like, and he has like sunglasses on. He looks dazed as hell.
Zoinked.
Bro is zoinked. You do like an electrochemistry check on him. You figure out exactly what drug he's on.
What is it?
Profiterol.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Because it's not real, don't worry. Profiterol. Well, actually, profiterol is based off of a real drug that the Soviet Union used to cure radiation sickness.
Did it work?
No, because you can't cure radiation sickness. So basically, this guy. Question.
A profiterole is also a French
Yeah.
pastry. The name of a French pastry.
Yeah.
A chocolate-based pastry.
I was like,
Is it
wait.
spelled with a Y in it?
No.
This is like a phonetic spelling of
yeah,
that.
it's just a homophone.
Yeah, okay. Profiterol, basically this guy worked for like a humanitarian organization that would like help during like massive human crises. There was one where someone thought they made like a generator that could make infinite energy, but it was powered by like radiation or like nuclear energy, and then that thing exploded and poured out into a lake nearby. So he was sent along with 20 other people to go and clean that up, and all of them got cancer.
No.
Yeah, he suffered, everyone there suffered from radiation sickness, and they all got, like, prescribed profiterol to cure it. Thing is, profiterol doesn't actually cure radiation sickness, because that's not a thing that can happen, so he got addicted to this drug that basically made him dazed and gave him light sensitivity. The worst drug to be on. Also, your gun's not here, because he sold it to somebody else, and you know, you can't just tell people who you sell your stuff to, so... shoot, man, I guess you'll never know. Except, wait, there is one guy who's keeping eyes on everything that goes on in Martinaise.
Ah!
You know who this is?
Yeah, it's the little girl.
It's Elizabeth, right?
Oh, right. No. So,
Man!
not yet. It will come. She'll come in later, okay?
Man!
It's actually Unclear, the guy who's running the debardeurs, the dock workers union. Wow. He's a real stand-up guy. He says, hey, why don't you have a seat in this nice chair I got you? And it's like, you like sit in it and it does damage to you. It's so uncomfortable. If you have 1 HP when you sit in this chair, you die. That's real. That actually happened.
Wait, if there's no combat in this game, how do you lose HP?
From doing stuff like if you try to bust open a door, but like you don't open the door, it hurts you. So you're like, ooh, ow, my arm, or something like that. Or like you sit in this chair and it's really uncomfortable. You sit in a really uncomfortable chair, it does damage to you.
So when you die from HP in this damage game, you feel really stupid.
Yeah, it basically like you get like your game over screen is like a news report about how you had a heart attack and died all of a sudden. It's really weird. And also, I believe if you run out of morale, because there's also like morale in this game, and if you run out of that, you basically like say, fuck it, I don't want to be a cop anymore, live under a bridge and throw shit at people. You become a literal bridge troll, but that's all by the by. Everett Clare knows where our gun is, and he's gonna tell us, but he also needs some favors that need to be done, and it's a little, I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine kind of thing. So we decide we're gonna do some favors for Everett Clare to get our gun back. And the first thing he asks us to do isn't that hard, it's to open a door. All we have to do is open one door, right? It's someone's front door. Do you see what's going on here? He wants to, someone is a snitch on the Deborah doors, and he wants you to send them a message by opening their front door to their house as a threat. Right? So you do this, and it turns out the guy's a fascist, so who even cares? His literal name is Gary the Crypto-Fascist.
Man, fuck that guy.
He threw out a racist mug recently. He took the clothes off the hanged man because he thought the armor looked cool.
I remember him from the proto-Disco Elysium lecture.
Yeah, this guy is weird, right?
He's weird.
I forgot to mention this, by the way, but early on in the game, right, when you come downstairs, remember, you trashed your room, and the guy who runs the place wants, compensation for that, so you have to pay him back for, all the damages you did to that room. Thing is, you don't have any money because you spent it all on booze. So, you have a savoir-faire check to, run out of there and not deal with that. And if you succeed that check, you actually leave and you don't have to worry about that. If you fail that check, you leap forward, turn around, flip him the double bird, and then slam into a girl in a wheelchair.
I've seen that before. I've seen that before.
This kills him again, and he has another talk with his ancient reptilian brain that's like, really, dude? Really? I mean, I told you wouldn't want to be out there, man. I mean, are you sure you want to go back again? Of course, he's like, yeah, I want to go back. And so you wake up, and the old lady's like, holy shit, dude, are you alright? Like the old lady you slammed into feels bad for you after you did that. It was so dumb. Thing is, though, this old lady is actually the wife of a cryptozoologist. There's a cryptozoologist named Gary who's trying to look for a cryptid in Martinaise. And that cryptid is known as the Insulindian phasmid. They're said to be this, what is it, a stick bug? But made out of reeds instead of sticks. So it's really big and it looks like reeds, so it's hard to find. And there are reports of seeing them in different parts of Insulinde, which is why he's here to look for them. And he has these traps that are about yay big. You put bait in them to try and catch them. And one of them actually springs. There's some meat missing from one of the traps. So maybe they snuck in and pulled the meat out. That's evidence,
Pull the meat out.
Yeah, and they talk about you can ask him about other cryptids that are around. There's this cryptid called the Gnome of Jeroma, which kills people. It's just there are reports of these people who got murdered, one of which was a child, and they were all murdered by this person who was really short and had a red hat.
Just for the hell of it.
So yeah, secret lore, everybody. Kuno S may or may not be a cryptid. Bonus points.
Well, damn.
That's right. Okay, next favor we have to do is we have to get some documents signed for him, and basically these documents are to set up a youth foundation or a youth center in Martinaise to help with that drug problem, because kids are getting really bent on drugs for some reason, and we really need to fix this issue. So you go to this nearby fishing village where a bunch of people are living, and you have them sign away all their houses and possessions so that they can build a youth center over it, right? I mean, you might have some moral qualms about that, of persuading people to give up all their property and everything they've known to build a youth center to fix a drug problem that the guy started. But I mean, you could also just forge them. And if you forge the documents and they later are put into court, they can rule that these are forgeries and thus aren't an official agreement. So really, that never gets built if you do that. You can save you can save those homes if you do that. Is what I'm saying make sense, right? Because I feel like I'm rambling. Okay.
Yeah, I follow.
So there's a moral way out of that if you have a good enough skill in interfacing. If you're good enough with your hands.
Interfacing.
Yeah.
How was your interfacing?
I mean, when I was playing
Hey,
this,
is it sticky or is it plug and play? Quickly.
is it sticky or is it?
Interfacing.
My interfacing was 5 when I played this game, by the way. For
Was
everyone
it
who's
enough for
asking,
this check?
I was really good. What?
Was it enough for this check?
Definitely. I had like an 80% to succeed this, so I was all good. Okay, so we did all that, and he's going to tell us where our gun is, and he's going to be a little bit cryptic about that. He's going to tell us to go to like the harbor at night, and so we do that. And we meet this woman wearing a bunch of like police sirens, and she has like this wind-up generator that she keeps pulling. She has
Wait a minute. Can I see that for a moment? Why, thank you.
one of those. Yeah, she's winding it up like that. And it's powering all these police sirens on her back, and she has like a police megaphone and a police gun, all this police paraphernalia on her, and she is saying, "You are under arrest."
You are under arrest.
So, I mean, you can be like, "Oh, are you not giving that?" Oh, you're pointing it at me. I'm under arrest. Oh, I'm sorry. So, the thing is, like, you know, you're a cop, but you can go, okay, I'm under arrest. I'm raising my hand. If you raise her hand, she thinks you're about to pull out a weapon, and she starts getting freaky about it.
That's getting freaky.
She pulls out the megaphone and puts it to her teeth, and like she starts bleeding from the mouth, like she slams it too hard, and she's like starts screaming at you all these orders. Get down on the ground now! I'm putting you in a carotid sleeper, and she starts yelling out these things as if she's doing them. She's like doing like a full cavity search, navel, foreskin, vagina, penis, rectum, you know.
He realized he forgot one.
So here's the question. This person is obviously not mentally well, so we don't want to hurt them. They are pointing a gun at us. How do we get out of this situation?
I don't know, man.
Answer?
Is there bullets in the gun?
Have you been reading ahead of class?
I actually haven't.
Yeah, there aren't any bullets in the gun. He suddenly remembers, oh yeah, I didn't have any bullets in the gun when I sold it, because that would be insane, right?
Well, that doesn't mean they couldn't have put bullets in it since.
That's true, but he says, oh yeah, Kim, there aren't any bullets in this gun.
Well,
and
that's
she's
my
like,
whole
wait,
thing.
I bought a gun without bullets in them? That's not authentic. And she falls to the ground crying that she got sold an inauthentic gun.
If it's a pepper box, that means she couldn't have reloaded it without the pepper box. Which we call it thing.
Later in the game, you do find a single bullet, and you are able to load that bullet into the gun. So I don't know how accurate this is to how pepper boxes actually work, so maybe if she had a bullet, she could load it.
If she found a bullet.
But she also never checked to see if the gun had bullets. She just started pointing it at people.
As one does.
As one does. So this is... She goes by the pigs in game, because that's what she calls herself. This is Marianne LaPlante. She was a beloved member of Martinaise. She had, like, kids and grandkids, but all of them left Martinaise to greener pastures, and she sort of sat in her apartment, slowly rotting. All she did to keep her occupied was listen to police radio, and that's sort of how she got her obsession with police paraphernalia. All her extra money she spent on, like, these sirens, this gun, all of that, and she slowly started, like... There's a theory that she has some kind of neurological disorder, and it might be dementia. It might also be that, because remember when she said she was going to put you in a carotid sleeper? A carotid sleeper can cause neurological damage. Which is also a thing that police still do, by the way. Fun facts.
Fun fact, if you experience oxygen deprivation for too long, your brain starts dying.
Exactly. Don't do it. So maybe the reason she's obsessed with cops is because she got put in a carotid sleeper, and that's what happened. Kim's theory is that it's dementia, and I think Kim's always right, so that's what I'm going for, okay?
Kim might have a pro-police bias.
That's true.
Your faves may be problematic.
So yeah, basically, there's also no mental health system in Martinaise, so there's not really, like, a house you can put her in, or, like, there's not really some place you can take her so you can make sure she's being taken care of. So you just, like, tell the Hardy Boys, which are the people running the Dock Workers Union, hey, you know about this? There's kind of an issue. And they decide, okay, we're going to find out somewhere she can stay for the night, and we're going to try and figure things out for
Yo,
her.
Union!
Yo, Union! The Union Boys are my favorite, by the way. I love them.
Go Joe Biden!
So anyways. Oh yeah, that's Marianne LaPlante, the pigs.
The pigs.
The pigs.
The pigs.
Alright, is everyone ready for our first aside? Let's talk about the political leanings of all the characters in Disco Elysium!
Woo!
Okay, So let's not oversimplify this. First of all, there are probably some people that might be looking at this graph and getting really angry. I promise you this is more of like, I'm not using this to prescribe what the political alignments or these political ideologies would align on the actual political compass. I'm just using this as a sort of with the pop culture understanding of what these 4 quadrants represent, so people can more easily understand what these ideologies are.
Can you verbally explain what they are so the folks that aren't watching the screen?
I can, and I'll go one step at a time, because first of all, top left we have the communists, right? And the communists believe that one day there's going to be a revolution where the proletariat takes over the bourgeoisie and then becomes the people who are in charge, right? They believe in like classless society, Marxism, except in this game it's called Mazovianism or whatever.
I see.
That's the basic gist. Fascism, right? Fascists really like the idea of everyone of their separate races being put in their ethno-states. There's not really much more to it. They don't like being called fascists, though, so sometimes they'll call themselves traditionalists or nationalists or other terms that have ist at the end. Basically, just they're very shy about what they actually believe in, except for Gary the crypto-fascist, of course.
Except for Gary the crypto-fascist.
Except for Gary the crypto-fascist. Even Measurehead won't say he's a fascist. He says he's a traditionalist. So keep that in mind. Over here we have ultraliberalism. This guy right here. Ultraliberalism in this game is basically like libertarianism in our world. They believe in like
Barry Goldwater.
Yeah, they believe the market will make decisions, and therefore we should keep the government from interfering and let Calvin Coolidge stoicism, like the people should figure out things for themselves, let the market decide, you know? Moralism, finally, is basically the government that's already acting under Revachol, and because of that, it's sort of the default position a lot of people hold, and so its belief is defined by not believing in anything. The motto of moralism is like a blue forget-me-not, a piece of a gray cloud, or something like that. And it is their unofficial motto is for a time there was hope. They don't believe in anything. They believe in like the government already existing. They believe that progress is made in centimeters, but they don't really want. They don't really want like radical decisions being made in society.
They're the moderate left.
Things are fine.
So you remember the smoker on the balcony, right? The smoker on the balcony, like when you meet him, he's like, "Oh, sorry, I can't talk right now. But if you want, you can ask any questions to my Sunday friend who's at my house right now, and they'll answer any questions you have." And his Sunday friend is like a politician, a moralist politician, and he explains his whole ideology to you, and it's basically just guff. He's constantly talking around what you're asking him to try and figure out a solution that would work for everyone, right? So it's my personal theory that the Sunday friend is that politician that's really anti-gay, but secretly like choking on dick on the side whenever no one's looking. Because, first of all, he's at the guy's house, and he's just kind of staying there.
He's just there.
He's just there. I don't think it's a stretch of the imagination to imagine these two fucked, like, the night before you met them. I think that's, like, that's not explicit, but it's pretty well implied in the story that that's what's happening. Okay, also this guy, right? This guy looks fucking weird, right? Do you want to know what is going on with this?
Yes.
He's chilling.
Okay, so basically all of these political alignments you can have in the game, because you, like, depending on what options you pick, you go towards these different sections, and each of these sections have their own quest associated with them. They're called, like, the political vision quests or whatever. And so, for, like, the communist one, you go to, like, the secret communist club where all the communists are talking, and it's, like, a book club where they talk about, like, Mazovian theory, and they, like, make, like, towers out of the books that they have to symbolize, like, the capitalist world. It's currently 2 members in that club, but it used to be 3. One guy got kicked out because he wouldn't believe in, like, the simple, like, Mazovian theory that when you plant a turnip in capitalism, it grows slower than when you plant a turnip in communism, because a communist turnip is happier and so will grow faster.
I love them.
Right.
Right. There's a fascist quest where you try to figure out how to turn back time, and you start talking with people like, hey, do you know how to turn time backwards? And you have like a heart-to-heart with Measurehead. You like go in his mother's office, and you talk about like semen retention and shit. And eventually, like, this leads to Harry shaving with his face, so he has like, you know, like, I wish you put this image in the slideshow. He kind of looks like that, essentially. He shaves his face down to that first image right there. Ew, exactly.
First image is like a healthy.
Cursed
Yeah.
image, and it's like
a normal dude.
Yeah.
yeah. What's up? All right. Anyways, the moralist vision quest is basically first of all, Kim is a moralist, so he actually joins you on this quest. But the basic way it's described in the game is there is something wrong in the world, and you need to form a committee to decide whose job it is to fix it. That is the entire moralist political vision quest. And then finally, there's ultra-liberalism. This one's the big one. This one's the funny one.
Yeah.
Okay. So, there's a cargo container in the docks, right? And you go over there, but it's locked, and you can't really open it because it's locked on the inside for some reason.
Someone's in there.
So you don't figure that out yet. So you make a joke about how like you're going to persuade the cage to open. You're going to persuade the cargo thing to open, and so you figure out, oh, if the only way to do that is to ask if there's anyone in there, and then like you do that, like, hello, is anyone in there? And then Kim smiles like, you dumb fuck, and then someone opens the door and he's like,
Man, fuck.
dang. And so in there is this guy, known in the game as Mega Rich Lightbending Guy. This guy's net worth is so high, being around him breaks the laws of physics.
Oh.
Like, you step near him, and the closer you get to him, the more, like, your HUD glitches out. Like, the real in your pocket starts, like, manifesting and reforming itself for some reason.
Hey,
Also-
what's the Royale?
What? Oh, Real is just the money in this world. I forgot to mention that. I'm sorry. There's a lot. There's so much. Also, Light is bending around him because the difference between your and his net worth is so vast. But basically, you talk to this guy and you realize how pathetic you really are, because all this time you've been after money when what you should have been after was net worth. And so you go on throughout the game with a new HUD element called net worth that is different from Real. And what you do is you spend your Real on like a light post in the town, and you buy it, and that raises your net worth. And your goal is to get that as high as possible. That is the political vision quest. The ultra-liberalism political vision quest.
Love
How
it.
does Kim respond to this guy?
He sits there like nothing's happening. Like he's like the rocks that waves crash upon. He's just like,
Does he mention it at all?
he mentions it at all. He's like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. You know, that is
sure.
weird. Yeah, sure, yeah.
Anyway, I'm Rod Sterling.
So yeah, that's the Those are all the 4 political alignments you can go through in the world of Disco Elysium. As I mentioned before, there are different like versions of each of these ideologies. None of them fit cleanly into like a single definition. I mean, those guys before, like, they thought communism was when turnips grew faster under communism. You know, it's weird, but that's all you need to know. That's the basics. You get it. We learned.
Uh-huh. I'm so smart now.
What time are we at, by the way?
24
24 minutes remaining, or 24 minutes currently?
currently.
All right, cut.
We're recording.
So, fun fact, I forgot to mention why the fuck Mega Rich Lightbending Guy was in the cargo container. He didn't want to be around. He didn't want to take public transport and be around all the poor people, you know. But he also didn't want to like spend so much money on like a private jet or whatever. So the best course of action was to be be frugal with his money and just buy a cargo container and ship it somewhere else and just live in the cargo container as it was being shipped.
As one does.
As one does. Did I mention his net worth is through the roof? He's really rich.
Tyler, I hear you are blocking my view of Roland.
Time for our second quest. There are 3 quests today. Quest 2, the DeLorean Church. So Dolores Day is the innocence of internationalism, right? Basically, whenever there's a major historical event that happens that changes the course of the world and of the people that live in it, a new innocence is assigned the role as world leader. And so this happened a couple of times whenever there's a big innovation. But this happened when we discovered the Pale, right? Or not when we discovered the Pale, but when we discovered Insulinde and figured out how to travel through the Pale. So Dolores Day was nominated and eventually, what is it when you vote for someone? Elected. She was elected to be the next innocence. And her queen fell to the ground crying because she was so happy, and Dolores felt so much love in her that her lungs started glowing. That is why lungs are the universal sign of love.
Based.
So fun fact, Dolores Day did some war crimes maybe?
As one does.
Yeah,
This is a Vestal Virgin, also a topic found in Greek mythology.
So if you haven't noticed, there's sort of a religious angle going around Dolores Day. She's sort of elected as a pope or a religious figure. Yeah, the Dalai Lama of sorts. So a lot of people around this time decide that secularism is cool and sick, actually. So they decide that they don't listen to the innocents anymore. How Dolores Day responds to this is a series of. She starts a cabinet called the People's Militia, the humanitarian army, and she sends them out to start re-education camps, just to re-educate people on the innocences so they can get the picture, and a bunch of other stuff, reclaiming territory, a lot of and because of that, she's also gotten the reception or the reputation as the innocence of war. A lot of historians nowadays consider Dolores Day a criminal. But of course, there are also religious people who really like Dolores Day because she's the greatest innocence. Or
is she still alive?
No, actually, she was assassinated by one of her caretakers, or not caretakers. One of the people that worked with her.
Advisors?
One of her advisors assassinated her, claiming that she was hot to the touch like a furnace, and she would go minutes without breathing.
That's not normal.
But of course, this is a claim they made, so we don't know if this is true. They could have made that shit up, honestly. So anyways, next to this is the church, right? This is the DeLorean Church in Martinaise, and right next to this church is a camp of kids sitting there. Egghead, Andre, and Noid. Egghead is kind of the most outgoing one here. He looks bald, but he's actually just platinum blonde, and his head is glowing in this image. His whole thing is that he just shouts everything is hardcore. You talk to him, and he's like, "That's hardcore! Yeah!" Andre is the level-headed one of the group. He's sort of the spokesperson and the one that speaks to other people.
And he's spiky.
Rick Sanchez looking ass.
What was that?
Rick Sanchez looking
Rick
ass.
Sanchez looking ass. Basically, but the thing is, you walk up to him, and there's this guy screaming about how hardcore things are, and this guy's telling you about how Olarian dance music actually has a very strong historical background, and that's why he has such an interest in dance music these days. And then this guy Noid is just sort of pessimistic, like a wallflower kind of guy. He's very quiet. His name is short for paranoid, And these three want to make a rave in the church. They want to set up a whole they want to make it into a venue so they can play a bunch of music there and dance and have a lot of fun. But the problem is they went in there and they found a guy just crawling on the ceiling, so that was really weird. They padlocked the place and they put a Nirvana sticker on the padlock just to signify it's theirs. So they're saying, hey, could you go in there and check if it's okay with the crab people if we do a rave in here? And you're like, you know what? Sure, a rave would be really cool these days. So you go in there.
What's the name of the artist again?
What? Alexander Rostov.
Yeah. Impressionist as fuck.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
These little red drips he has. I love that color.
I also like how very clearly it shows that it's the difference in their character. I could just... Yippee!
Exactly, this guy. Fun fact, I didn't find this out until, days before I was going to do this lecture originally. But the funny thing about Egghead is that depending on what political alignment you have will change what he says. He will just, like, if you're a communist, he'll talk about, like, no war but class war, the revolution starts today and stuff. If you're fascist, he'll talk about how you need to, like, keep the races in their place.
He's that fucking guy.
He's that fucking guy. If you decide, the funny thing is, if you go moralist, he's like, yeah, incremental change, yeah! Making progress a little bit at a time, yeah! He gets really
Trickle-down
excited.
economics!
Trickle-down economics! Yeah. That's more ultra-liberalism, though, isn't it? Kind of? Whatever, he says stuff like that. So you go into the church, it kind of looks like this. The portrait they have of Dolores Day is kind of ruined. You go over there, and, like, Dolores Day is, like... Dolores Day is kind of treated like a metaphor for Dora, his ex-girlfriend. And if you think about it, it's because Dora is his lost innocence.
Wah, wah, wah.
No one laughed! I can't believe this! Anyways,
Everybody stare at Roland.
That's not funny. That's like, that hits you. That's a different kind of...
Yeah.
So anyways, you find out...
A chuckle?
You find out, you go over, there is a guy crawling on the ceiling. His name is Tiago, and it's more like he's not like a crab person, but he just sort of swings from like rafter to rafter, and he just kind of lives up at the top of the church because he sort of found his own religious figure in the church, which is like the Lady of Silence or something, and he talks very vaguely about her, and then like talks about how like you need to find your savior and give into a higher power in order to solve your alcoholism. Harry or Dubois, and Harry's like, yeah, sure, and then Kim is like, you should probably listen to that advice. Yeah. But basically he talked to him, like, hey, can we do like a music thing here? Can we just start a rave in this church? And he's like, you know what? That would be fine with me, but I would check with the other woman who lives here just to make sure. And there's like, the other woman who lives here.
The other woman who lives here.
And then there's this person walks in.
Holy shit!
Lukanen Ki. I used to be able to really pronounce these names, but when you get really exhausted with like marathoning this whole thing, it gets harder. Suna Lukanen killed.
Try doing 5 push-ups and then run around the room.
He can do it. That's such a terrible location to do a push-up on.
I disagree.
He picked the worst spot to do it on.
See? Now you're all focused. Your
He's
chi is centered.
So the reason Suna's in the church, right, is because she's doing research on a 2mm hole they found in the world. The only reason they know about this is because they found a place where matter is, and directly next to it, a place where matter isn't. And so they measured it, and they sort of found out that this might be like a spot of pale, just all of a sudden in the middle of Martinaise. And that's weird because, and I forgot to mention this, the pale isn't supposed to show up at random. It is continuously growing. It seems to be growing exponentially. However, it doesn't just appear out of nowhere. So this is weird. And we should do some research on how this happened, what it is, blah blah blah. But you can't really measure the pale, as you might remember. There's some issues with that. So she needs a whole sound system so she's able to like study different aspects of like, by blasting like sound waves at it, how it reacts to it and stuff like that. And hey, those kids had a sound system, remember?
Whoa! Ooh, kill him.
So the basics of this side quest is you're trying to help both parties because this person is trying to study the hole in the world and you have to help them set up the sound system and stuff for that. And meanwhile, the other people are trying to make the best mix in the world. So you're trying to help them find music for that and how to make their music sound better. There's a scene where you're talking to Egghead and he's like, yeah, hardcore! And like you keep talking to him and he's like, yeah, hardcore! And you keep talking to him and he's like, yeah, so hardcore! And you're like, yeah, it is hardcore! And he's like, but is it?
Is it?
Did you really consider that maybe it's not hardcore after all? Did you ever think about that? And he just fucking...
That's the funniest bit in the world, actually. Maybe
That
it
is.
isn't. Huh?
That fucking broke me when I first found it. It's really good.
He's like, and you believe me?
Yeah. So, Suna with the help of the sound system, is able to actually record audio of the 2mm hole in the world. Not only that, but like you put the headphones on and you don't really hear anything, but if your perception is there, you actually can feel something. There's actually pressure in the sound waves that's being created after recording the 2mm hole in the world, and that's some information that we can use to play with. I don't actually know the implications of that or whatever, but I don't know the implications. But Harry uses this evidence to theorize that. What is the theory? That this 2mm hole in the world has always been here, and this is just the origin point of the Pale. This is where all the Pale comes from. And I don't know how the fuck he got there. Kind of a weird guy, am I right?
Yeah.
So what if I told you, right, that we take that audio recording of the 2mm hole in the world and put that shit in the mix?
Yo!
We
that's
have the
fucking
best
fire.
dance party in the fucking world. Harry breaks this shit down. He's dancing.
Ooh,
Yeah, kill it. And you know, Andre's dancing to this too, but Kim is just standing by the side, like a worrywart, like a little wallflower, like a little
Like
peon.
Data.
So here's the don't you guys want to see Kim dance?
I want to see Kim.
You want to see
so
Kim
bad.
dance, right?
I wanna
Okay.
see Kim dance.
So here's the thing. This is the one time I'm going to pull rank on you, Kim. I need you on the dance floor now. And Kim's like, I worked in the juvenile district for years. You don't think I can do age inappropriate? Bam! Everyone's dancing. Best dance moves in the world, by the way. Look at him break
What the
that
fuck?
floor. Holy
Kill
shit.
him. Ooh, kill him. Ooh.
That Chester bang.
Bro, who's doing it the best, honestly? Question.
Bottom.
Andre hitting that shit though.
Andre is hitting that shit.
I don't know. Andre's kind of got it going, but Kim has some really complicated like footwork.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
really. Andre's like super casual about it. Kim's like really technical.
And then
Andre's
Harry.
hitting the Breakfast Club like
Yeah.
But Harry seems to be going for it.
Yeah, he's like full energy on this
He's
shit.
really capturing the most space when he moves.
Exactly. You can see there are no inhibitions when he does this. It's just full.
Okay. Hear me.
Okay.
Brain player.
Shut
body
up.
player and a heart player.
-2.
Andre brain, Kim body, and Harry
Heart.
is.
Am I hearing a demerit for Ed?
I agree with Ed, but I am giving him a demerit. Because I hate this fucking zodiac symbol nonsense we keep doing. Okay, anyways. Alright. Yeah, that's the end of that quest. You do a dance, it's really cool. Don't miss that thing where you ask Kim to dance on the floor with you. It's
No,
a really
I think we
bad
I
outcome.
feel like we moved past the guy crawling on the ceiling too fast.
I don't think we did. I think we kind of got.
What questions do you want to ask?
Yeah, what's your question?
What is that? Is that a guy or?
That's a guy.
It's just
His
a
name is
guy.
Tiago.
His name is Tiago, like short for son Tiago, I think.
Yeah.
And he's just in the ceiling because it's cool.
Oh, okay.
He's in the ceiling because he lives in the church because he's worshiping his goddess, the goddess of silence.
But he moves around like that because it's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Deion, do you remember in that fucking D&D game on the bus where, like, in the ceiling was a side dimension we went to all the time?
What?
In the ceiling? Was it in the ceiling? I don't remember. Anywho, this is an aside. Let's keep going.
This is an aside. The Anti-Centennial War. Who remembers this? Because I did mention it.
Yeah!
The Anti-Centennial War is the thing that killed Kim's parents, right?
+2. Good on you. So, the Anti-Centennial War.
Happens in year 6, or 06.
When was 02? Wait, he was born in 02.
He was born in 02. This happened. So this starts before 02. There's a monarchy, and like, this is how the monarchy fell. Actually, this is the story: is that there's this king, but he's not doing a great job, so he gets replaced by this guy called Guillaume le Lion, which is where Guillaume le Million gets his name, the musician that Harry likes. So Guillaume le Lion is now king of Revachol. The suzerain, actually, is what they're called. And his first thing that he does is live completely hedonistically. He starts getting enormous wealth. He gets a bunch of treasures built for him. He gets that horse statue that you might have seen in a bunch of these images. Whoa, 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 whoa. Horse statue. You remember the horse statue?
I
right?
do.
Remember the horse statue?
Yeah, he's the one that gets the horse statue built. But it didn't look like that at first. It just looked like a guy on a horse, right? There we go. He gets that bill. He gets a skull made out of cocaine. Just to have, you know, a bunch of other treasures like this, and people just feel like he's not taking his job seriously enough. So they have a revolt, right? And the moment that he hears about the revolt, he flees. I believe, okay, there's some story about, like, the people who revolt. It's like the commune of Revachol is formed, and there's this couple, like, that called themselves, like, the lovers of Revachol or whatever, and they release a statement called the March Decree, which is just, like, an announcement that they're taking over Revachol and that there will not be a suzerain. They will not listen to the king anymore. And so he gets word of this. He immediately flees, and he has all his troops take care of the rest, try to defend the place, massacre completely. For the troops, they all die, right?
Woof.
Woof. They get killed off by communists, no less. The communist revolution has happened. This guy, Rene Arnault, is actually a surviving soldier from the monarchy that you can talk to in the game, and he talks about how, like, upset he is with all those darn communists. They made it so he got, like, stuck in the desert and he had to drink, like, rat urine, and it
What the
sucked.
fuck?
It was, like, the worst situation to be in, and this guy's, like, his friend, and it's like, hey, chill out, it's all over, come on, let's play bull. Let's play sports ball. I forgot what fucking game they were playing. They had, like, these, like, metal balls that they were throwing. I don't know how.
Ball, yeah.
Yeah, sports ball.
Sports ball.
Okay, so the monarchy has fallen, and afterwards is 6 years of communism in Revachol. There's, like, a party on the streets to celebrate this, and afterwards it's considered, like, good times all around. Then the moralists get in, and you remember Dolores Day, right? They don't like it when people aren't moralists. They don't like the fact that this monarchy was taken over by these communists, and now they're challenging their authority on the world. So they send a bunch of soldiers to fight the communists. This is known as Operation Deathblow. What happens is that they go to a bunch of, like, places. What are they called? What is it called when it's a place for an army?
Barrack.
Barrack. When it's a fortress. A fortress. Go to a bunch of, like, fortresses, these army bases, and they just bomb the place. They just take a bunch of airplanes and drop like 10-pound bombs all over, 100-pound bombs. I don't know how big bombs are. They just make big boom booms and they explode the whole place, right? Nobody survives. The communists are defeated. They play, like, as their last, like, ditch announcement to the world that they have fallen, they play the Instruments of Surrender, which is the songs that you hear when you walk through Revachol, when you walk through Martinaise.
Man.
And that's how the world has become a moralist hellhole.
Is this real? He sounds like he's talking about real history.
No, this is Disco Elysium.
The communists lost! It sucks!
Woof.
Woof. Alright.
These two are so nicely painted. I love it so much.
Yeah, he's so happy and he's so not happy.
And it's even, like, clear in how their lines are done. Like, I don't know the guy on the left's name, but he's got no really clear line work in his face. So you can't really see the details all that well, except for the highlights.
For future reference, this guy is Rene Arnault.
Rene Arnault.
Rene Arnault. Okay. Moving on, it's time for our final quest, because we didn't actually solve the mystery of
Yeah, I was
the
about to say.
Yeah, so we're getting
kind of hanging out.
We finally, yeah, he's been hanging out there. Kuno's throwing rocks at this guy, by the way. He's just there, so you should probably, like, do stuff about it. First, you got to actually get him down from the tree, which is a whole process, and then you have to do a field autopsy to figure out how he was killed. And here's the funny part: he wasn't killed by strangulation. Autopsy finds a bullet in his mouth going up to his brain. It's splattered, so you can't actually tell, like, the gauge of the bullet or get much information from it, but there's evidence to show that if he was killed, but, like, things wouldn't match up if he was killed by strangulation. Even if, like, he was strangled and then a bullet entered his mouth, that wouldn't make sense. So it seems like he was shot in the head through the mouth and then later put on a noose. So that's weird.
That's weird.
We find this out, and wait, what's the next slide? Let me look at this. That's a spoiler. Don't look at that.
I'm blind. I'm blind.
No one saw
I can't see.
anything. I put this together like last night in like a dizzied rush just to make sure I got all this down. The Hardy Boys. The Hardy Boys come to the Whirling in Rags. Oh my god, water. Oiter.
Thank you.
Oiter. Come on.
Thirsty.
Anyways. The Hardy Boys come to Whirling in Rags, right? And they're the people that they're part of the dock workers union, but they're like the acting police force since the police haven't been doing their job for a bunch of years. So you go up to them and ask if they know anything about the Hanged Man, and they say, "Of course we know everything about the Hanged Man. We're the one that hanged him." Huh.
That's weird.
They just confessed to a crime in front of a police officer.
Oops.
You could arrest them, but they will fight back, and technically the RCM hasn't claimed like control over this. So you would need to file a bunch of reports and get backup or whatever, and it's going to be a whole mess.
Does the game let you?
The game does not let you try to arrest them because they say like, oh no, you don't. This is going to end badly for you, like certainly. So you ask them like, okay, why did you kill this guy? You know, and he's like, oh, because he's military scum and he was going around sexually assaulting women, and that's not very good. And you're like, oh, sexually assaulted women. Can you give us that like victim's name so we can put that on the record? It's like, no, we're not giving the names to cops like you. And then you like work through that, and it turns out it's Clausia, the smoker you met at the beginning of the game. You talk to Clausia. There's this whole thing about Clausia I never understood when I first played it. So you go up and talk to her, like, okay, did this guy sexually assault you? And she's like, no, actually, we were dating. And then he got hanged, and I didn't, that kind of sucked. I didn't like seeing that, but you know what happens. It's just an upsetting image for me. And then you have a volition check to look into her eyes. And you do it, and you see like she's pulling a long drag on her cigarette with her ruby lips in this like beautiful outfit, and that's when you realize all of the stats you've been listening to throughout the game are compromised right now. Every part of you is in love with this woman, and because of that, you are not thinking rationally. So whenever something comes up like drama and it says, oh, she's definitely telling the truth, you don't know if that's correct or not. Drama's not acting right. Electrochemistry certainly isn't acting right because they're like horny as shit. They're like have sex, and you're just like, I'm trying to do a thing right now. I'm trying to figure out like a murder. Could you help me out here? And then like your encyclopedia is like, did you know the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell? He's like, okay, maybe I can trust you, but I don't think a lot of these other guys are gonna be much help here. So that sucks.
Nerd emoji. Hey.
Yeah, nerd emoji comes out like, hey, did you know this? It's like, thanks. I guess I can always count on you. What was I thinking about? Oh yeah, so she might be a spy, and that's why she's acting so weird. Because she's affiliated with the military, of course. But also the fact that she's being so secretive, and later you can like get her to admit that she's like a spy. I think it's not made very... I mean, I think it's made explicitly clear, and I'm stupid, but I...
He doesn't know.
He might be stupid.
Clausia, honestly, isn't that important to this lecture. She has like a bunch of...
women aren't important.
I didn't say women aren't important. I said this one specifically. Do not
How long
twist
did
my
it take
words.
you to name 100 women?
To merit. And a second to merit for embarrassing me in public.
He's silencing the masses. He's censoring the facts.
It was 2 seconds, by the way.
It wasn't.
Okay, she has like a bunch of paperwork lying on the shore, like in these capsules, like specifically to like be secure or something, and I didn't understand what the fuck that meant. So I was like, okay, well, clearly I don't. Yeah, I don't know. So I go back to the Hardy Boys, and I'm like, they were dating apparently, and he's like, no, they weren't dating. I know they weren't dating. And your entire goal throughout this segment of the game is to get the Hardy Boys to confess that they didn't kill this guy. like to unconfess to murder, essentially. And so the genius part is like, okay, if you fail this, right, this is an authority check, and if you fail it, your authority is like, okay, I got this one, guys. Okay, get your gun, pull out your gun real quick.
I've
Okay.
seen this movie.
And actually, at this point in the game, you don't have your gun yet, so you ask Kim for his, right? And you're like, Kim, can I see your gun for a minute? And he's like,
Absolutely not.
no, what are you doing? Like, no, Kim, trust me, I got this one. Kim, give me your gun.
Kim?
Give me your gun. He hands you your gun, and this is the genius part, right?
Mm-hmm.
You put it in your mouth.
Uh-huh.
See, a normal person would point it at them, right? To intimidate them, but that's toddler shit, right? You point it at yourself, and you threaten them.
Of course, you're fucking
I will die right here, and you will watch me die unless you tell me what I want to hear. You better confess to unmurder right now. They're like, what? Yeah, shoot yourself, man. I mean, I kind of want to see that, actually. You could go ahead with that. The game lets you shoot yourself, by the way. You do die. You get like a special ending if you do, where it's like a news printing of deranged cop kills himself. It's great. So if you pass that check, which is how you there aren't any other options on how to get through the segment. You have to pass this authority check. So what you actually do is you decide that the case is closed. Okay, you hanged the man. We can't arrest you. We'll just put this on record and we'll leave. And they're like, wait, what? Like, yeah, people just kill each other in the wild north. That's how it goes in Martinaise. Am I right, guys? That's apparently how it goes. And you're like, no, don't get it twisted, old man. We don't just kill each other here. That's not what's going on. And some guy's like, and actually, we didn't even kill this guy. And everyone's like, gosh darn it!
God damn it, bro!
Gosh darn it! Get them to admit the reason that they lied about this whole thing was that Claudia was the last person with the hanged man, whose name is Elise Courtenard. I haven't actually mentioned his name yet. Elise Courtenard was with Claudia when he died. In fact, they were having sex when he died. So there was no one around that could have killed him except for Claudia. And so they're thinking, okay, the cops are definitely going to suspect Claudia of murder, so we have to cover this up. But you see, I'm a smart detective, right? As I'm playing this game, and I realize, hey, nobody has ever mentioned hearing a gunshot go off during this whole thing. And he was killed by a gunshot. So obviously it wasn't in the Whirling in Rags whoever shot him. It had to have been somewhere else, right? Because otherwise...
Being a detective?
Yeah, I started being a detective. I got smart. I was like, okay, Claudia clearly didn't do this, right? Like, I can see the writing on the wall here, but also the circumstantial evidence kind of implies that if Claudia did kill him, someone would have mentioned a gunshot the other night, right? Someone. So... you decide, and then the Hardy Boys are impressed, like, oh, you're not actually going to go after Claudia. Okay. All right, then, go for it. And then your case kind of dwindles on from there. You hear a rumor about an 8th Hardy Boy who's actually a Hardy girl, and you go over there, and she's really skittish around cops because she's one of the drug peddlers that's working with Evrar. And in fact, because she's working with the drug peddling ring, she's also afraid of, like, other rival gangs that are trying to sell drugs in Martinaise, so she's a very skittish person. And, like, the moment you walk up on her, she, like, has a pale latitude compressor and just starts blasting it in your face to, like, stun you, because it's, like, a bunch of loud noises being directed right at you. And that's a whole segment. There's a section where, like, if you, like, stop it and you approach her closer, you can, like, break the pale latitude compressor, and then she's like, oh, well, it's over, I gotta kill myself right now. And there's, like, a rhetoric check you can do where you can, like, okay, we're not gonna chase you. This is your one chance to run right now, and that's how you prevent her from doing that. But really, obviously she didn't do it, right? So this is all a waste of time. And now we have no suspects, so we just walk back to the crime scene to go back to square one or whatever. Except now all of the military are there. Whoa. Oh God!
What?
Oh no! They think the Hardy Boys did it because they've been admitting to doing it this whole time. So they're going over here, ready to shoot the entirety of the Debardeurs, possibly other people who get in the way. I just realized I didn't mention Elizabeth Buford's whole thing. She's a lawyer, and she's been spying on
What?
She's a lawyer.
the lady that we thought was
Man.
her.
Lady lawyer, literally
Yeah,
me.
she's the lawyer for the Debar doors. She was spying on you to like keep notes and stuff on what to do, and she's the one that explains to you like, okay, you can't arrest these people, and here's why. You don't actually have any jurisdiction. Blah 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 blah.
She's the union lawyer. She's so cool.
Oh god, the military are here.
Uh-oh.
There's going to be a shootout right now. We got to get in the middle of that to prevent too much bad stuff from happening. And this is like the segment where, depending on how well you've done throughout the game, decides how many people die right now.
Yeah.
If you like suck, Kim dies. We don't want that now, do we?
No, we
No,
don't.
we don't. No, sir. And Kim didn't die on my first playthrough, by the way. That never happened.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you, Roland.
Believe me. Anyways.
I don't believe you.
So, this it's a whole segment. There's 3 people who are like there are 3 targets, 3 military members who are attacking the rest of the group, and your job is to protect them. So the way that you do this is that you only get 1 shot with your gun, right? The moment you fire at one person, the rest of them start firing on the rest of the Hardy Boys, everything else. So you got to make that shot count. But you can also do something a little sneaky. You can pull out a little bit of alcohol, right? And then take that horrific necktie of yours and make a Molotov cocktail out of it and throw it. It's really fun. You can throw like a little firebomb.
But wait, that's your friend. He talks to you.
Exactly, he talks to you, and if you do this, he has like one like last salute as you throw him at him, like, stay classy, Breton. I'm gonna meet you in the next life. And then you light him on fire and throw him at the military officer, and he starts burning alive. You shoot one guy, Kim shoots the other guy, and then the military officer takes one last shot with his dying breath onto you, and it like knocks you out, and then you wake up like a couple days later in the whirling in rags, and Kim is there.
Yo, that's the first few days he's had sober in a while.
I mean, yeah, that is true. So you wake up. This is painted outside after this whole incident occurred, right? You can talk to the Hardy Boys, and they're like, "Dang, you really stood up for us." I'm so I thought cops were bad. I thought all cops were bad, but maybe not all cops were bad. Dap me up, bro, and you give them a high five. You give them a.
Aw, dang it. Aw, dang it. Aw, dang it.
So you walk out, and this is painted outside.
Wrong answer for it.
Who speaks French, by the way? Who here speaks French?
One day, something will return to, I don't know.
You got surprisingly close. Un jour, je serai de retour près de toi. One day, I will return to your side. This is in reference to a political idea called the return. And the genius part about this is it's basically like a return to like the political norm, and depending on what political leaning you went with, it can mean like all of them. Because remember, the monarchy is the fascists and they were in power, the communists were once in power, and then ultra-liberalists could be like we need less government control, so you can go that way, and moralists can go like,
We're in control.
yeah, we'll return back to us in a minute, okay? So that's like the whole setup. This is a thing that's been referred to throughout the game, and then you get this final like painting of the whole thing. So that's a little fun. And then also Claudia has left. Claudia like ran away after the shooting occurred because she was afraid she was gonna get in the gunfire, and she left one sign, one last clue for you to find who the killer was, and that's a string connected between where the shot reached the wall and where the shot reached the window in her room. And you can track that to an island nearby. And you find this island, and you walk through it, and you find there's a whole fortress here. And then you suddenly realize this is one of the barracks from the anti-centennial revolution. One of the ones that got hit with Operation Deathblow.
Whoa.
People bombed this, right?
Jackson, isn't that visually so pretty?
Huh?
Yeah.
What's up?
Jackson agrees, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you walk through it, and then you find from your perspective, you see this, which you might remember from the beginning of our lecture, is the view of the... Yeah, this is the view from the island. The whole time, this was where the shooter was. You were seeing in their perspective in the menu.
That's crazy.
And then you walk up to the shooter, and you find him sat down with the murder weapon, watching over a dwindling campfire. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the deserter.
Man.
The twist was, none of the suspects were it. It was a guy we never met before.
Some other fucking guy.
Some other fucking guy.
That's crazy.
So the deserter, aka Josef Liviovich Dros, is... I feel like that accent was really weird that I put on it. Whatever. This guy is one of the remaining survivors of the communards, of the Commune of Rebishol, who fought for his people against Operation Deathblow. Except when the bombs fell, he ran. He went into the barracks and hid while all the bombs fell. And once the bombing stopped, he walked up and saw the corpses of all his friends, all his upper authority, whatever's. Yeah, all his superiors, and realized that he was supposed to die along with them. And in his grief, he decided that the war never ended, and he has not been relieved of duty. And so he has lived on this island for 20 years, or like 50 years? Like, since that happened, which is a long time, 20 years, I believe. And so he sat there, watching the town of Martinaise from this island, and he watched as they redeveloped into moralism, as the buildings were rebuilt, as everything was put back together, and this bothered him, because the world can't go on after this. Everyone I know died. The society that's supposed to be in power is no longer here. How are you guys just going up and living life when communism fell?
Poor traumatized dude.
And then he has this famous quote, and then you see it as the strangles and beats your friends... Oh, as it strangles and beats your friends to death, the sweetest, most courageous people in the world, you see the fear and power in its eyes, then you know that the bourgeois are not human.
They aren't. Have you
Can I get an amen?
Can I get an amen?
Can I get an amen?
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to sign on to that one.
They aren't. Hope this helps.
No, I mean like literally though, like that other chick was like a furnace.
So, couple things. One is that, he's been watching the world develop from this island he's been living on, and he's gotten angry, and he noticed a surviving member of Rene Arnault, remember, a surviving member of the monarchy, was there, and every day he fantasized about shooting him. Like, one day I want to put a bullet in his head. Thing is, after the shootout, Rene Arnault died of a heart attack, and he realized he'd never get that feeling, the ability to kill him. Like, he lost that opportunity. But he did take the opportunity to shoot Clausia shoot Elise Courtenard, the military guy, as he was fucking his girlfriend. And he took great pleasure in the fact that he shot him in the head as he was inside of her, and with weird sexual undertones behind that. Feels really gross. But as you sit here, he starts feeling less and less stable. He starts drifting away, seemingly mentally deteriorating, and that's when you realize in the bushes is the Insulindian phasmid.
It's just there.
What
The
is
cryptid was real.
Oh.
The insulin. Not only was the Insulindian phasmid real, but it's taller than you. So those small traps he was building, that Gary, the cryptozoologist, was making, not Gary, the cryptozoologist was making those traps too small for this guy to fit in. And you finally meet this guy, and you can make a check to approach him, to get closer. And if you do that, you hear its voice, and it says, "I exist." And it has this very existential conversation with Harry about the nature of their lives or their existence, and the phasmid talks about how he thinks that human life must be the highest hell, to live life through flashes of light as you move on. Like, all of the cosmos, the vacuum of the cosmos and all the stars burning within it are all afraid of you. The birds and the reeds have mutually agreed that you will destroy the world and you will do it on accident.
I mean,
How beautiful.
yeah. And by the way, this isn't like a fever dream, this is real. Kim sees him too. Kim takes this photo you're seeing right now.
Isn't this so fucking cool?
Yeah. Ed, isn't this cool? It's a cryptid.
It's encrypted, yeah.
so was this thing like chewing on the deserter's brain or something, or?
So apparently the way it hides itself, as it explains to you, is it secretes like a neurodegenerative pheromone that, or not a pheromone, a neurodegenerative substance that like prevents you from being able to perceive it. But the deserter has been subjected to this pheromone for 20 years. So what would normally be just a slight like disarray in your brain has now caused like a severe deterioration, right? And you're subject to, I guess you're not subject to it because you can see him. He has presented himself to you.
I guess that's just because he turned it off.
I mean, yeah, he turned it off. So I guess you're not being affected by it. But the deserter has been affected by it for 20 years. Another thing is that it talks to you about the Pale, and it talks to you about how, what was it? It talks to you how they believe the Pale constantly growing is going to be the next extinction event, and it's going to be comparable to the Oxygen Holocaust. Now, the Oxygen Holocaust was this prehistoric event where all anaerobic life form was wiped out when oxygen was introduced to the planet.
Ah.
See? And they believe, like, you have, like, a thought in your brain that's, like, plants breathe air, it doesn't breathe thoughts. So there's an implication that the Pale is growing because you are thinking. Like, when you have thoughts, it is introduced to the Pale, which is vague, and I don't think that's accurate. I have a theory for what the Pale is I'd like to share with you all today, and I'm going to introduce that. What was that play you talked about again? I forgot the name. Eurydice.
It's based, the Greek myth with Orpheus and all that. Orpheus and Eurydice.
I'm not that
She
familiar with
died.
it.
Okay, so the lament of Orpheus goes as such. So Orpheus is the son of Calliope, which is the muse of musical performance and all that. So he has absolutely incredible pipes, right? And he gets a wife, Eurydice, who's really into music as well. So their whole thing is that they go around making the best love songs ever, and like to the point that even the trees will like bend down to listen. Even the gods are like, oh, whoa, dude. Like, Apollo, the god of music, gifts Orpheus a lyre so he can keep playing,
Yeah.
Eurydice steps on a snake and dies. The snake bites her after she steps on it, kills her, she's dead. Orpheus can't take it. He's like, man, fuck. So he starts writing the saddest music ever. Plants stop like flowering around him because they're just like, what's the point there? He gave the earth itself around him depression. Okay?
Yeah.
And finally people are like, Jesus Christ, dude, can you do this somewhere else? So he's like, I will, actually. So he starts playing his music on a path straight into the underworld. And he goes through the underworld, and like Kerberos, the hellhounds keeping everybody out and people in, is completely moved by the music, can't even bring himself to like bark at the guy when he's walking in. He charms Charon, the boatman, all the way to the throne of Hades and his wife Persephone. Persephone hears the song, starts crying, and is like, Hades, come on. Hades, his heart's softened by the music, he's like, okay, we've got rules, we've got laws, you can take Eurydice out of here. She's right here. You have to keep walking out. And no more music, just walk, dude. And don't turn back, because if you turn back, I have to take her, dude. And Orpheus is like, okay. And then he walks like halfway there.
So there's one last thing we need to talk about today.
Is there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now that everyone who made Disco Elysium what it was has been removed from the company, what are they gonna do now? The reason you buy a company is to make money, right?
Uh-huh.
You can't make money unless you're selling something. So what is the company gonna do next? The answer is they try to make a sequel. Emphasis on oh, I forgot that was there. Yeah, he wrote a letter to the person who made the PMG documentary, and he was not very happy. They don't like each other, but you make a sequel, right? And this is the story of that sequel, Project X7, and also how it was never made, and also how this is going to be the end of Zaun, or it could be the end of Zaun. But basically, they get this guy, Argo Tulik. He's the guy who wrote Kuno. All of Kuno's dialogue comes from this man. So this is one of the few people they have left working for the company who was there since the beginning, who worked on Disco Elysium 1. And so he's headed this project, which is supposed to be like a continuation of Disco Elysium, another game set in that world. We don't know much about what this game was supposed to be, but it was canceled in February for unknown reasons. He reports, so a bunch of, basically what happened is when the game was finally canceled, a bunch of employees were scored based off of like how well they were performing in the company, and the people that were most vocal about not liking company policy were the people that eventually got fired.
So if this happened in February, this means this happened within the span of you researching this lecture.
Exactly. This happened while I was writing notes for this. So this is very recent. In fact, one of the articles we're going to go over came out like last week. Tulip describes yesterday's atmosphere as 10 seconds before the Chicxulub impactor that wiped out the dinosaurs. Gloomy. This is in reference to the fact that like they were forced to crunch during the last like 2 months of development on this game before it got canceled. What else? Oh yeah, people came from other parts of the world to work in Estonia to make this game, and after the game got canceled and people were laid off, they lost their immigration status and didn't know what to do next. I know at least 5 women. Oh yeah, remember that whole thing about gender discrimination? Turns out Tanis Havel.
Coming from inside.
Oh yeah, the call was coming from inside the house, guy. Yeah, multiple women have reported Tanis Havel as a major factor for them leaving the studio. So that's suspicious. There's also this statement: the fish starts rotting from the head, not the tail or the midsection. Don't get angry at the junior producer, mid-level leader, or senior artist, community manager. They didn't know. We were kept in the dark. It's not their fault. It was their love for disco, not dystopian totalitarianism that brought them here. It's their worst nightmares too. There's a quote here referencing that the after the People Make Games documentary was released, studio culture got a lot worse. Argo Tulik would later go on Twitter that he wasn't trying to imply that like the person who was making the documentary was malicious in any way, or that they were like doing anything wrong. They were just trying to search for like answers, and like they asked people questions and they came to these conclusions. This isn't meant to be a dig at them. They're not trying to blame PMG for doing this. I disagree only with the fact that I think it was handled improperly and that more moral weight should have been put on Ilmar Compass, but I still agree like there shouldn't be blame put here on the person who made the documentary for the fact that things got worse in the studio. That should be blamed on Ilmar Compass and Tanis Havel and the people who did the thing, you know?
Even worse.
Yeah! The people who were bad! The bad people! This quote,
Oh my god.
This quote's the iconic one that everyone quotes. It's the people on top, the motherfuckers in sailing shoes and bow ties that fucked Harry, fucked Kim, fucked Robert, Rostov, Helen, Olga, Cash, fucked Elysium, fucked you and me too. They are not artists, they are professional fuckers.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And then he ends the interview by saying, "We did promise, we will return. Un jour je serai de retour près de toi." And then there's like I mentioned before, there's a sequel planned, and it was going to be ready by next year before it got canceled.
Hey guys, did you know that the bourgeois aren't human?
The bourgeois are not
They're not
human.
human. You
They are
can't
not
kill them.
human. Yeah, they were like, fuck man, they were on like the fucking grind for 2 months, worn down to the bone, and then eventually they just decided to scrap everything they made. I hate it.
The
So-
bourgeois
Are not human. That's so true.
Don't dehumanize the enemy.
So, 2 last notes before I finish off this lecture. One is that Zaum and the Zaum Cultural Association, although sharing the same name, are 2 different organizations. And Zaum, the people who worked at Zaum, left them, but are still working for the Cultural Association. They're still like the people who made this game what it is are still around. It's not the company that made those people. It's the people that made the company. And now the company is the shedded skin of the King Cobra as it slithered out.
Like Telltale.
Like Telltale. Another thing is, I have a theory for what Zaum is going to do next. You may notice that they have no fucking games to make, but they have a really important IP that they have sold the rights to make a TV show of to Amazon. So we might be getting a Disco Elysium Amazon original series. And if that's already the case, like that show has not been confirmed or not, just the filming rights for it have been sold to Amazon. But if that show is possible, then what else licensing could they do with the Disco Elysium brand? Because, I've been theorizing for a while that the next step is they're going to make Magic the Gathering cards.
Theme park?
What?
Theme park.
Theme park? they're gonna make
theme park.
Elysium worlds. You get to ride in the Hanged Man's roller coaster ride.
Wait in line to overdose.
Crazy.
When does the line start? When does the ride start?
This is the ride.
Yeah. So my theory is that they're gonna get Fortnited to shit. Like you might. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think it's likely that Kim Kitsuragi is going to get into Fortnite, but the chances aren't 0 at this point. The company has got to do something.
The
to,
company
make
exists
money.
to milk the IP, not to create anymore. And they have to milk the IP in ways that don't involve artists.
Yeah, especially because they fired all their artists. So, I think they're going to go full licensing route. And we don't know what that'll entail yet. Maybe it just means like Hallmark cards. Maybe they'll make figurines. Maybe, they don't do anything and the company just goes over because Ilmar...
Funko Pop.
Tabletop RPG about it.
Maybe they'll make a tabletop RPG about it and it goes full circle. Thank you, everyone. Oh.
Lamau.
The game was going to be a spin-off of Rakuno.
But he died.
No, Kuno didn't die. Kim died.
Oh, right.
This is the Disco Elysium lecture, everyone. Thank you.
Woo! Yay! Hooray! Woo!
I'm glad that's over. I spent like 8 months working on this, and I know I missed stuff, and I know I'm gonna get flamed for missing stuff, but you know what? I'm okay with that. I got my cheesy doodles, I drank a gallon of water, and I'm happy with myself.
Talk your shit.
This thing says, "Are you in the mood for dudes?" on the back of it. That's serious.
Happy June. Are you?
Hey, Roland.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Why did you decide to do this lecture?
I thought the game was cool, but there was way too much lore in it that I didn't understand when I first played it. So I was like, okay, I gotta do research on this. And if I'm gonna do research on this, I might as well be, like, productive about it and make a lecture out of it. And also, Disco Elysium is the best game ever made. Thank you all.
Nuh-uh.
Nuh-uh.
Sonic Riders was sorry.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
Hades exists. Hades Supergiant exists.
Are we still recording?
What about Starfield?
Okay, let's over.
Hey, all in favor of Starfield?
Doki Doki Literature Club.
That's what I thought.
Undertale.
Delta Rude.
Real.
It's not even done.
Actually, Omori.
The Ribbit Kingdom.
Amori's
And
good.
Super Mario Galaxy
Hi-Fi Rush.
True.
Arkham Knight.
and GTA 5 and Hollow Knight.
Cruelty
Fortnite.
Squad.
Yeah, I guess. And Minecraft.
TF2.
Yeah.
Sit song.
Alright,
Kill him! Kill him!
Fuck you.
Right there!
Yeah.
Right there, officer!
Yeah. Fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy.
The Simpsons hit and run.
Base.
Get out of here.
World, World of Goo and Little Inferno.
Cave
SpongeBob
story.
SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom.
That game was made by one guy.
Why?
Untitled Goose Game.
I actually don't like that.
That came out the same summer as Summer Nights.
Deep broken.
I actually don't like Untitled Goose Game.
Night in the Woods.
Oh.
Sally Face. I like how this isn't even like commentary
What the fuck
anymore.
are you
We're
talking
just
about?
saying the names.
Five Nights at Freddy's Pizzeria Simulator.
Five Nights at Freddy's Pizzeria Simulator. Five Nights at Freddy's.
Ow! Fuck!
Which Five Nights
what
at Freddy's game
I
is the
just bit
best
my
one?
mouth.
Yes, sir.
Is it not pizza?
What is wrong with you?
It might not be.
Yes, sir.
Why are we still Is this a prank
Are
where
we still
Tyler just holds the
recording?
camera towards us forever?
Recording.
Oh, hi everyone. Wasn't that a great Disco Elysium lecture?
Wow.
Yeah.
Just there,
I was
listening to it
just
just
there.
now. You were just
Love
there.
I remember it like it was
What's your
yesterday,
favorite Disco
even though-
Elysium?
When he was at the disco and he was like, wow.
My guy.
This is really Elysium.
So it turns out, right after we did that lecture, and I mean literally right after, not months before, a new update occurred where, like, the people who worked on the version of Project X27 or whatever it was called, announced they were working on their own, like, spiritual successor to Disco Elysium. So, like, Argo Tulik and Dora Linzik got together and they're making Summer Eternal. They have the narrator from Disco Elysium and everything in that. And then at the same time, 20 other people who worked on Disco Elysium and were working on one of its spiritual successors who got fucked by Zaum or whatever, they're now working on a game. They've formed a new company called Dark Math Games. They're working on XXX Night Shift. There were also like 2 other games that got announced around the same time from people who worked at Zaum, or like just people making spiritual successors to Disco Elysium, like around the same time. So I just wanted to add that at the very end because we haven't uploaded this lecture yet because we just did it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just.
Yeah, when's the art for Disco Elysium gonna be vibing in?
Who the fuck knows?
We're not very good
That's
at
not my
like,
job.
actually drawing the thumbnails.
Well,
We're
it's
great
also
at getting videos
not
out.
important.
It is to us.
It's
You
not to me.
can't. You can't really post the video without the thumbnail.
No, I mean, like, it's not important to post a video. We go with the speed of...
I got
No,
other
no.
shit to do, man. I gotta take out the garbage. I gotta clean the carpet because the carpet needs cleaning. You know how it is.
I have
just
to go
do
to
it.
work sometimes. That's crazy, isn't it?
That's
Yeah.
wild.
So yeah, I just wanted to add that at the end. Ta-ta.